Chapter 253. It was another spring, and the students went to the capital for the imperial examinations. Xinyu and Shang Junlin changed into casual clothes and went out of the palace. The street was very lively, and the vendors were shouting. Students from all over the country stopped from time to time to buy one or two things. Xinyu, who was dressed in a green robe, was holding the hand of a tall man in a black robe as they walked in the crowd. "Lin, do you have any plans today? Let's walk around first. If we're hungry, we can go to the Yingxing Tower to eat. Then we can go to the newly built Mingyu Building." Mingyu Building was a library that collected a large number of famous works. There was even no lack of copies that were hidden in the hands of aristocratic families. People from all over the country could borrow and read there. Since the opening of Mingyu Building, it had become the favorite place of scholars. Here, they could read a lot of books that they couldn't read normally. There were many students coming and going. They were discussing the changes in Dahuan, the wisdom of the emperor, and their future dreams. Xinyu and Shang Junlin brushed past them. The sun was bright, and the warm velvet sprinkled on them, bringing the hope of spring. Xinyu and Shang Junlin walked into the alley that they had been to before. It was not much different from 3 years ago, but this time, the bookstall owner strongly recommended the articles written by He Chengyu, Zhang Huiqing, and Fang Jai. Xinyu and Shang Junlin found the familiar boss and walked to the front of the stall. Xinyu picked up a book from the stall. "Boss, do you have any recommendations?" "This year, of course, I must recommend the articles written by the 3 officials who passed the imperial examinations last time. Who doesn't know that the 3 officials are valued by the emperor? They were promoted very quickly." After reading their articles, the bookstall owner took out a book from behind and suddenly opened his eyes wide. "2 young masters, long time no see. How have you been? You still remember us?" Shunyu held the handle of his fan and pressed it against his chin. "2 young masters, I will never forget you. Since you are acquaintances, I can give you a discount on whatever you want to buy." Xinyu now knew that these stall owners had legitimate bookstores behind them. They had set up their stalls here because the students had spread the word of mouth and knew about this place. On the other hand, it was more convenient. Most of the books here were for students. Xinyu picked a few books and handed them to Shang Junlin. He asked, "Boss, do you still have those storybooks from before?" "Young master, are you talking about the story of those 2? The bookstall owner pointed to the sky. Xinyu nodded. "So the 2 young masters are also chasing after their stories. You've asked the right person. Here, we not only have the common ones on the market, but also the collector's edition." "A collector's edition?" The bookstall owner had a mysterious look on his face. "You might not be able to buy this collector's edition just by having money. You have to be a regular customer." Shunyu's interest was piqued. "Boss, do you have it here?" "We don't have it here. We only have it in the bookstore. If the 2 of you are interested, I can get my assistant to bring it over." Xinyu was curious about what was written in the collector's edition. He nodded. "Sorry to trouble you, boss." Xinyu and Shang Junlin didn't leave immediately because they had to wait for the book to come back. Instead, they strolled around nearby. When they reached a corner, Xinyu stopped. "Alin, do you still remember this place?"
Yes.
Shang Junlin pinched Xunyu's fingers. Xinyu looked around. "There shouldn't be anyone coming this time. Alin, do you want a kiss?" Shang Junlin lowered his head and kissed Xinyu directly. He answered with his actions. Xinyu's waist was held. He raised his arm and wrapped it around Shang Junlin's neck. He was immersed in this kiss. Their lips and teeth touched, and their breaths merged. Their senses of the outside world gradually faded away. They could only feel each other. 3 years ago, they kissed here. At that time, Xinyu didn't know that in the future, his eyes and heart would be filled with this man. 3 years later, they had experienced a lot. Their relationship had also stabilized. They returned to the same place and did the same thing. The feeling was completely different from the first time. A gentle breeze blew past, but it couldn't blow away the thick warmth. After a long time, Xunyu was released. Shang Junlin pressed his forehead against Xunyu's. "A you is now mine. No one can take it away. Even if someone comes to take it away, I won't go with him. From the beginning to the end, I will only choose Alin." Their breaths intertwined, and warmth flowed around them. Outside the alley, there were sounds of conversation from time to time. In the corner, there was only the two of them. No one disturbed them. When they returned to the bookstall, Shen Yu's lips were a little brighter than before. There was also a light pink on his face. Shang Junlin was the same as before. The collector's edition was sealed in a brocade box. The price was much more expensive than the normal edition. Shang Junlin paid for it without hesitation. He took the book that Shen Yu had chosen. After leaving the alley, the hidden dragon guards who were following behind them appeared. They took the book from Shang Junlin's hands and disappeared again. Shen Yu and Shang Junlin continued to shop. The two of them walked and stopped. They bought a lot of things. They were all bought by Shen Yu because he was in the mood to do so. There were some folk toys and snacks. Xiao Yu. Hearing someone call his name, Shen Yu turned around. A young man in white stood in the crowd and looked at him. Ji Wu Wang. Shen Yu held Shang Junlin's hand and walked over. Your eyes. Shen Yu looked at the young man in white who was slightly taller than him. The white cloth covering the young man's eyes was gone. Without the white cloth covering them, Shen Yu realized that the two of them looked even more alike. My eyes are fine now. Ji Wu Wang raised his hand and touched his eyes. Let's talk somewhere else. Shang Junlin said. There were so many people on the street. It was not convenient. Just when it was time for lunch, the group went to the Yingxing Tower. They chose a private room on the second floor by the window. Ji Wu Wang sat opposite the two of them. How is the Ji family now? Shen Yu poured tea for the three of them and asked. Most of the family members have moved out. Now that the world is peaceful, they have adapted well. If there was a choice, no one would want to live a closed life. The Ji family moved to a place with beautiful mountains and limpid waters. It was not far from the capital. It could be reached by horse in half a day. The location was chosen by Ji Wu Wang. He wanted to be closer to Shen Yu. If Shen Yu was wronged, he could help him in time. However, most of his worries were unnecessary. They had not seen each other for more than a year. Shang Junlin treated Shen Yu the same as before. As the emperor of a country, it was easy for him to take care of his younger brother. Ji Wu Wang and Shen Yu talked about the Ji family. In the end, he said, you can let the family members participate in the free medical consultation. The Ji family is a medical family. This kind of opportunity can also let the younger generation learn a thing or two. Shen Yu agreed. If they are interested, they can participate. Of course, I will not treat them unfairly. They will get what they deserve. The Ji family has a lot of medical books and herbs. If you need them, you can come and get them. Occasionally, Shang Junlin would also say a few words. The three of them chatted happily. Shen Yu looked out of the window and saw a person he had seen before. The young man in the past had grown into an elegant young master. Under the care of Fang Jun, his official career was smooth sailing. Did you save a child in Subei? Shen Yu turned back and looked at Ji Wu Wang. The young man who was brought back by Fang Jun from Subei, could it be that he was saved by Ji Wu Wang? I have indeed been to Subei before. It was many years ago in search of your mother's whereabouts. At that time, Subei was very chaotic. I saved many people along the way. I don't know if the person you are talking about is among them. It was a long time ago. Saving people was just a matter of convenience for Ji Wu Wang at that time. He could not say who he saved now. Let me think. I did save a small child at that time. Did that child survive? Did you see him? Ji Wu Wang felt that Shen Yu would not ask this question for no reason. In a chaotic world, it was very difficult for a child who had no one to rely on to survive. If he really survived and met Shen Yu, it must be a great fate. I did. He thought that I was the person who saved him. Now he has a position in the imperial court and is appreciated by official Fang. He has a bright future. Do you want to see him? Ji Wu Wang thought for a while and nodded. He wanted to know what the child he saved was like now. Shang Junlin called the hidden dragon guards to invite that person over. After the meal, Shen Yu and Shang Junlin left to give the two people some space. So that person was Ji Wu Wang. Shen Yu sighed. He was mistaken for you. That person looks similar to a Yu. It is not strange that he is a Yu's brother. Shang Junlin said. Shen Yu turned around and looked at the Yingxing Tower. Back then, we first met Jiang Huiqing, He Chengyu, and Fang Jiayi in the Yingxing Tower. In the blink of an eye, They have already gained a foothold in the imperial court and are realizing their dreams step by step. With Feng Jia in the lead, there are many women who came to participate in the imperial examination this year. The opportunity had been given. It was up to them to see how far they could go. Xin Yu and Shang Junlin did not return to the palace. Instead, they went to Shan Yu's villa. The book they bought from the bookstall was already placed on the desk. Xin Yu walked over and opened the box. There is a collector's edition. Your Majesty, have you seen it before? Shang Junlin shook his head. Xin Yu was very curious about the contents of the book. He asked Shang Junlin to open the book and read it page by page. There was a painting beside the words. It was half hidden and half hidden. Coupled with the words beside it, one could not help but be immersed in the painting. Although the names were different, Xin Yu knew that the content of the book was about him and Shang Junlin. This knowledge greatly magnified the embarrassment in his heart. The young man's face became redder and redder. His fingertips on the page turned crimson. Especially at this moment, he was still in the man's arms. Xin Yu only felt that it was getting hotter and hotter. It was as if a fire was burning from the inside out. In fact, the content was not explicit. However, the author's writing was so good that he could not help but blush. Your Majesty, don't read it. Feeling something, Xin Yu panicked and pressed the book. Are you going to call me him even when we are outside? The man's voice was low and hoarse. If one listened carefully, there seemed to be a hint of bitterness. Xin Yu suddenly widened his eyes. What? Now that we are not in the palace, you can only look at me and call me by my name, okay? The man's forehead was pressed against Shan Yu's back. The warmth came through his clothes. Xin Yu reacted. Wasn't this the content they had just read in the book? In the book, Her Majesty, who had lost her memory, did not know her identity. She thought that Her Majesty had someone else in her heart. From time to time, she would be jealous of her. Outside the book, Shun Yu was held in the warm arms of the man. He was pleading over and over again. Could he look at him? He was like a lover who was raised outside and could not see the light of day. He longed for his lover's pity. Ever since Yu entered the palace, he hasn't come to see me for a long time. Yu also loves me, okay? He looked even more pitiful. Alin, what are you doing? Xin Yu exclaimed. He was pressed against the bed by the man. Shang Junlin supported Shun Yu's face with one hand and caressed Shun Yu's face with the other hand. He rubbed it intimately. Yu has become more beautiful after not seeing you for a while. You know that it's not easy for me to come out. Why are you still making a fuss with me? Since Shang Junlin wanted to act, Xin Yu was happy to accompany him. I just want to see you more. The man lowered his eyes. I want to hug you more. Xin Yu raised his hand and stroked the back of the man's neck. He comforted. Am I not here to see you? I won't forget you. The man's hand kept moving downwards, causing a shiver. There were still red marks on her snow-white and delicate skin. The man's gaze swept across her, and his eyes became darker and darker. I will cover all the marks he left behind, okay? As he spoke, his hot breath sprayed on her skin. Shun Yu's body trembled. Only leave my marks. The man lowered his head. Xin Yu gasped. Don't. What? Yu doesn't want to? The man's voice was filled with jealousy. You still say that you don't care about him? I don't. Xin Yu didn't know what Shang Junlin was doing to him, but now he was neither moving up nor down. He was very uncomfortable, and even his voice was trembling. What do you want to do? I want to keep you. The man's slender fingers stroked the marks one by one. I want to leave only my marks on this. The faded marks were dyed red one by one, covering another person's breath one by one. The young man seemed to be resisting, but also seemed to be unable to bear it. He couldn't help but hide to the side. Soon, he was pulled back. Where do you want to hide? The man's arms were strong and firmly shackled the person in his arms. Xin Yu was in his arms and couldn't escape. I don't want to hide. Under the gravity, his voice even sounded like he was crying. This made the man even more excited. He hugged the young man in his arms tightly and left a string of kisses on his face. Xin Yu liked the feeling of kissing. When he felt another person's warmth on his lips, he couldn't help but chase after him. His behavior pleased the man. The man moderated his strength to give Xin Yu time to adapt. The kiss gradually became stronger. The wind set off stormy waves, and the lonely boat rose and fell with the waves. You can only be mine. Not me, but me. It has nothing to do with identity, it's just me. Genius 1 second. Remember this website, www.bq50. CC Literature Mobile Version Reading Website, mbq50. CC. Chapter 254. The people of the Imperial Hospital found that Imperial Physician Gu's state was not quite right recently. He would be distracted from time to time and almost mix up the herbs when organizing them. These things would never happen in the past. Imperial Physician Gu was greatly respected by the Imperial physicians and apprentices of the Imperial Hospital. On one hand, his medical skills were outstanding. On the other hand, he never put on airs and was willing to teach others. Everyone was worried about Imperial Physician Gu's situation. Imperial Physician Qian and Imperial Physician Gu were close, and everyone wanted to ask about the situation. There was a pavilion in the Imperial Hospital for people to rest. Imperial Physician Qian invited Imperial Physician Gu here. There were fruits and tea on the stone table. When Imperial Physician Gu came close, he was welcomed into the pavilion by Imperial Physician Qian. No matter how busy you are, you cannot spend all your time in the medicine room. This was one of the areas where Imperial Physician Gu's behavior was not right. In this period of time, he had spent almost all his time in the Imperial Hospital. When General Gu Huai had returned to Jing, he had been on duty on time. I know. Why did Xixiang call me here? Gu Cheng sat opposite Imperial Physician Qian. He was half a teacher to Imperial Physician Wu, so he called Imperial Physician Wu's disciple Xixiang. You don't look like you know. The entire Imperial Hospital knows that your state is not right in this period of time. Has something happened that is hard to solve? Imperial Physician Qian had a worried expression. If there is something, you can say it. Everyone can think of a way to solve it. Is it so obvious? Gu Cheng finally realized that everyone had seen it. It is very obvious. Imperial Physician Qian poured a cup of hot tea and handed it to Gu Cheng. Don't be in a hurry to refuse. If it is a small matter, you would not be so obvious. If it is a difficult matter, and we have no solution, we can go to the palace to beg the emperor. There will be a way. It really isn't a major matter, just a private matter. Gu Cheng hadn't thought that his behavior would be so worrisome. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. But because it involves someone close to me, I can't make a decision. There is no need to disturb the emperor. What Gu Cheng did not say was that when he went to the palace to take the emperor's pulse, the emperor had also asked this question. But he thought it was good to take care of his own matters. Also, this matter involved Gu Huai. Gu Huai. Thinking of this name, Gu Cheng had a headache. He didn't know if there was something wrong with his teaching, causing this child to have thoughts about him that he shouldn't have. He had a bright future ahead of him. The Lin family's case had been overturned, and everything was going in the right direction. Yet, something like this happened. Gu Cheng couldn't help but recall what had happened that day. As usual, he was making medicine in the pharmacy at home when Gu Huai suddenly barged in and hugged him from behind. At that time, Gu Cheng didn't feel anything was wrong. Ever since he picked Gu Huai up, he and Gu Huai had become close friends. Gu Huai liked to hug him from behind when he was young. When he was younger, Gu Huai was very insecure due to his childhood experiences. He often woke up in the middle of the night and fell ill. At that time, Gu Huai would stay by his side the whole night. When he was about to wake up, Gu Cheng would gently pat him on the back and coax him back to sleep. He didn't think much of it. He patted his grown brother's head and asked, "What's wrong? I miss you." Gu Huai's voice was muffled. "Why are you still acting like a spoiled child at this age?" Gu Cheng smelled alcohol. "Have you been drinking?" "A little." Gu Huai rubbed against the back of Gu Cheng's neck like a big puppy. Gu Cheng felt itchy and couldn't help but move aside. He didn't see the intense emotions in the man's eyes because of his movement. "Why are you avoiding me?" The man's voice turned cold. Gu Cheng didn't notice it. He thought Gu Huai was feeling unwell after drinking. He comforted him. "You're making me itchy. Are you uncomfortable? I'll make you a bowl of hangover soup." "I'm not uncomfortable. Don't go." Feeling Gu Huai was about to leave, Gu Huai tightened his arms. Gu Cheng had no choice but to let him hold him for a while. However, Gu Huai didn't intend to let go. Gu Chong sighed and said, "Let go of me first. I'll clean up here, and then we'll go out together." "I'll go with you." Gu Huai seemed to realize that he was in trouble. His voice was low. "No need. You can wait for me." Gu Chong was almost done. Even if Gu Huai didn't come, he would have packed up and left in a while. Gu Huai hugged the person in his arms for a while and reluctantly let go. Gu Chong quickly packed up his things, took Gu Huai, who was following closely behind him, and walked out. He led Gu Huai to his room and put him on the bed. Gu Chong wanted to pour a glass of hot water for Gu Huai, but Gu Huai wouldn't let go. "I'll get you a glass of hot water." Gu Huai shook his head. "I don't drink." The tall man sat on the edge of the bed and looked at him like a big dog afraid of being abandoned. Gu Chong surrendered and walked to Gu Huai and sat down. "How much did you drink?" Why did he feel that he was drunk? Gu Huai tilted his head and leaned on Gu Chong's shoulder. "Brother, did someone ask for your hand in marriage today?" There was nothing strange in his tone. His eyelids drooped, hiding the surging anger in his eyes. He knew that his brother was obsessed with medicine and had no interest in love. It would be an extravagant hope for his brother's feelings to be reciprocated. He didn't intend to force it. As long as they could stay like before, with no one between him and his brother, it would be fine. He would always be a good brother and shelter his brother from the wind and rain. He thought that was enough. However, he underestimated himself. The human heart was never satisfied. As long as he thought that one day there would be a woman who would be intimate with his brother, he couldn't control the jealousy in his heart. He had nothing in his life except his brother. No matter what, he couldn't watch such a thing happen. Because he had nothing, he wanted to hold on to the only thing he had. His brother was too outstanding. This excellence would be seen by more and more people. Of course, part of this was because of him. His relationship with his brother was good. It was no secret in the capital. Those people thought that by marrying his brother, they would be able to establish a relationship with him. As he rose in the court, there would be more and more people like this. "Yes, but I rejected them." "Xiao Huai, are you unhappy because of this?" Gu Chong suddenly remembered that he had noticed this before. That was many years ago. Gu Huai was just a powerless youth. He didn't have a firm foothold in the imperial hospital. Unlike now, who in the court didn't know that he had cured the empress's illness and was highly valued by the emperor and the empress. No one dared to make trouble for him. At that time, a young lady from an official's family had taken a fancy to his appearance and sent someone to be a matchmaker. After she was rejected, she tried to use her power to pressure him and force him to submit. It wasn't until the young lady's father was exposed for corruption that the matter was resolved. Gu Chong thought that Gu Huai was traumatized by this incident and comforted him. "That kind of thing won't happen again. Xiao Huai, you're a general now. No one will force me to do anything." "I know." Gu Huai closed his eyes. "Brother, don't get married. Don't abandon me." "No." Gu Chong patted his back. "Xiao Huai is young and promising. I'm afraid that soon, there will be an endless stream of people coming to propose marriage. When Xiao Huai gets married, no?" Before Gu Chong could finish, Gu Huai hurriedly interrupted. "There won't be such a day. Xiao Huai will get married. You're the only bloodline left in the Lin family, brother. I won't get married." Gu Chong's words were interrupted again. Hearing the anger in Gu Huai's voice, Gu Chong softened his tone. "All right, don't get married. Xiao Huai can do whatever he wants." These words seemed to give Gu Huai unlimited courage. He sat up straight and looked at Gu Chong. "Whatever I want?" His gaze gave Gu Chong a strange feeling. Before he could speak, Gu Huai spoke first. "What if I say, I want to be with brother forever? Won't we always be together?" "No, what I mean is, like His Majesty and the Empress together. Brother, I like you. The kind of like that I want to marry you." The man's eyes were burning. Gu Chong didn't see a trace of joking in them. He opened his mouth but found that he couldn't say a word. After a long while, he heard his own voice. "Xiao Huai, you're just too dependent on me. You can't differentiate between different kinds of feelings. You'll understand in the future that these are different." Gu Huai stared at Gu Chong. The fire in his eyes seemed to set him on fire. "No, brother, I'm very clear. If it's a normal brotherly love, Would the younger brother want to kiss the older brother? Would he only think of the older brother in his dreams? Would he want to press the older brother down on the bed? Don't say any more. Gu Chong awkwardly turned his face away. His face was dyed red. Gu Huai's eyes darkened. He closed his eyes and restrained his aggressiveness. I won't force you to make a decision. I just want you to know what kind of feelings I have for you. If you can accept it, I'll naturally be happy. If you can't, I hope you won't distance yourself from me. I'll always be your obedient younger brother. Gu Chong was very embarrassed. He casually said a few words and hurriedly left. This time, Gu Huai didn't stop him. Gu Chong was still a bit embarrassed after being pulled out of his memories. How could he talk about this kind of thing to others? Seeing that he didn't want to talk about it, Imperial Physician Qian didn't make things difficult. I know you have your own ideas. If you can't solve it, you can tell us. After that, Imperial Physician Qian took the initiative to change the topic and talk about medicine. Gradually, Gu Chong was immersed in it and forgot about his previous awkwardness. In the blink of an eye, it was time to go off duty. Gu Chong packed his things and felt a bit awkward. He admitted that he was hiding from Gu Huai. Ever since Gu Huai revealed his feelings for him that night, he didn't know how to interact with him. He simply found an excuse to stay in the Imperial Physicians' Hospital. But now that his colleagues in the Imperial Physicians' Hospital could see that something was wrong with him, he couldn't continue to hide like this. It was snowing. It often snowed in Dahuan's capital during winter. Gu Chong walked out of the Imperial Physicians' Hospital, thinking about how to spend the next 2 days. His gaze landed on a certain spot and suddenly paused. A tall man stood not far away with an umbrella, silently looking at him. There was a layer of snow on the umbrella. Gu Chong didn't know how long he had been standing there. His heartache suppressed his other emotions. Gu Chong hurriedly walked over and grabbed the hand holding the umbrella. How long have you been standing here? Are you cold? Genius 1 second. Remember this website. www.bq50. CC Literature Mobile Version Website. mbq50. CC. Chapter 255. The skin under his palm was cold. Gu Chong rubbed it for a while. You're a great general. Why wait outside? After all, he was the one who raised him. How could he not feel bad? Besides, other than that day, Gu Huai had always been obedient. He was a typical younger brother. Gu Chong was always glad to have such a person by his side. I'm afraid that you don't want to see me, Gu Huai replied in a low voice. I won't. Gu Chong sighed. He just didn't know how to face it. He didn't get angry at Gu Huai because of this. It's cold outside. Let's go home first, brother. Gu Huai walked over with Gu Chong. There was a carriage parked not far away. Gu Chong was touched by the words, go home. He followed Gu Huai into the carriage. Along the way, Gu Huai automatically kept a distance from Gu Chong, not crossing the line at all. The Imperial Academy of Medicine was not far from the Gu family. The carriage stopped and Gu Huai got off first. When Gu Chong got off, the snow above his head was blocked by a large umbrella. His bony hands held the umbrella handle. These hands were used to hold swords, but now they were willing to hold the umbrella for him. His movements were so familiar. Gu Chong suddenly realized that the child who needed his protection had grown up. He was standing in front of him, sheltering him from the wind and rain. The roles had changed. He went from being the protector to being protected. Brother, be careful. As he thought about this, Gu Chong stumbled and was supported by someone. The man's strong arm wrapped around his waist to help him stand firm. Gu Chong's ears turned red as the man's cold aura hit him. He was already an adult, but he almost fell while walking. Gu Chong was embarrassed. He wanted to say something, but Gu Huai had already let go of his hand. Silence spread between the two. Gu Chong pushed the door open and walked in. After a few steps, he turned around. The tall man stood outside the door with an umbrella in his hand, watching Gu Chong leave. He was like a dog abandoned by its owner. Why don't you come in? Gu Chong had to admit that he couldn't harden his heart towards Gu Huai. Brother, are you still willing to let me in? Gu Huai's eyes lit up. Seeing Gu Huai's cautious and hopeful eyes, Gu Chong's heart softened. This was the child he had raised. Even if he had made a mistake, he could not bear to punish him. Moreover, he had not done anything wrong. He had just fallen in love with him. No matter what happens, this will always be your home, Gu Cheng said calmly, suppressing his thoughts. He and Gu Huai were not family, but they were family. For the past few days, he could not help but wonder why Gu Huai would fall in love with him. Putting aside the fact that they were both men, when he was with Gu Huai, he had always treated Gu Huai like a younger brother. Could it be that Gu Huai had misunderstood something and developed such feelings for him? Gu Cheng made a decision in his heart. He would find a time to make it clear to Gu Huai that he would always be Gu Huai's brother. Nothing else. The two lived in peace for a period of time and tacitly did not bring up that topic again. Everything seemed to have returned to the past. The waves caused by the confession had calmed down. However, this was only what it looked like. When they were together, it was impossible to act as if nothing had happened. Gu Huai could feel that Gu Cheng was consciously distancing himself from him. It was not the kind of distance where he wanted to distance himself from him. Instead, it was the kind of distance where he wanted to pull him onto the right track and avoid intimacy. Although Gu Huai was right in front of him, there seemed to be an invisible barrier between the two of them, preventing him from touching the real person. After that day, Gu Huai also wondered if he should not have brought up this matter. However, he was unwilling. He did not want to see another intimate person appear by his brother's side one day. Whenever he thought that his brother's gaze and gentleness would be on that person, he would go crazy with jealousy. He could not bear the possible consequences. Therefore, he had to let his brother know his feelings. Without destruction, there would be no construction. Only by bringing up the matter could it develop in the direction he wanted. As the end of the year approached, Gu Cheng and Gu Huai went to buy the things they would need for the new year. In the past, they had done it together. Gu Cheng was in charge of choosing, and Gu Huai was in charge of carrying things. Seeing a ready-made clothing store, Gu Cheng pulled Gu Huai into it. This year, Gu Huai had grown a lot taller. Gu Cheng had also made great contributions to the Immerse and received many rewards. He had accumulated a lot of savings and wanted to make some new clothes for Gu Huai. Gu Huai saw Gu Cheng signal to the store staff to take his measurements. He asked, "Brother, are you going to make new clothes for me?" "Yes. You're growing fast. After spring, many of your old clothes can't be worn anymore. Since you're free now, let's make a few more." "Brother, don't just focus on me. Make some for yourself too." In the end, both of them made a lot. After setting a date to collect the clothes, the two were happily sent out by the store owner who had received a large order. "Customers, don't worry. My store has made clothes for many high officials and nobles. The quality and style are guaranteed." After walking for a while, Gu Huai slowly came over. "Brother, what's wrong?" Gu Cheng was in a good mood. "Brother, do you want to take a look at the mansion His Majesty gave me?" That was the Lin family's mansion. After it was given to Gu Huai, the emperor had ordered people to renovate it. Gu Cheng had only been there at the beginning. Later, Gu Huai himself lived in the Gu family and would not go there. After coaxing and pestering, Gu Cheng agreed to take a look at Gu Huai. After it was renovated, "I always wanted to take you here." Gu Huai led Gu Cheng inside. The general's mansion was solemn. Walking inside, Gu Cheng suddenly felt like time was passing. "This is the martial arts field. His Majesty asked me what style I wanted. I thought that there were very few traces left of the Lin family, so I hope to restore it as much as possible. It's a pity that I was too young when the Lin family got into trouble. Many of my memories are blurry. This place is different from the Lin family of the past." Gu Huai's voice gradually became downcast. "As long as you're here, the Lin family will still be here. His Majesty has overturned the case for the Lin family. The Lin family's honor will still be there." Gu Cheng comforted him. The two sat at the edge of the martial arts field and looked at the empty field. It was as if they were looking at the lively scene of the Lin family through time. Father would practice martial arts here every day. Occasionally, Mother would bring me here to see him. She would tell me that in the future, I would become a great general like Father. I would risk my life for the great Huan kingdom. Father always told me that a general's greatest glory was to die on the battlefield. But the Lin family had been loyal for generations. In the end, they were framed by treacherous officials. Although they died on the battlefield, they didn't die at the hands of the enemy. They lost their lives in the conspiracy of their own people. It's all in the past. Gu Chong patted Gu Huai's head. The wicked have been punished. The good have been vindicated. Everyone has returned to their rightful place. In the past, I was really scared. When I was sent away, I fainted. When I woke up, my dignified father, my mother who loved me dearly, my big sister who would make me laugh, everything, including the Lin family, was gone. For a long time, I thought I was dreaming. When I woke up, my father, mother, and the Lin family were still there. My mother would gently tell me, "Don't be afraid. It's just a nightmare." Gu Huai's tone was calm, but it was this calmness that made Gu Chong unable to bear it. Whoever raised a child would love him dearly. Gu Chong felt terrible that such a thing had happened to him at such a young age. This was the first time Gu Huai had spoken of his childhood. Gu Chong's heart tightened. Calculating the time, when he found Gu Huai, it had been some time since the Lin family's destruction. He didn't dare to imagine how a child like Gu Huai had lived before he found him. Gu Huai's hand was at his side. Gu Chong reached out to cover it, as if he wanted to warm this person up. Gu Chong turned to look at him. The man's side profile was handsome and firm. The current Gu Huai, compared to when he was first picked up, had really changed a lot. Gu Chong sighed in his heart. This was a child he had raised single-handedly. From a thin and sickly child, he had grown into a handsome man. His eyes were filled with pity and emotions that he didn't even realize. Gu Huai felt it. His lips curled up slightly. "Brother, do you remember? For a long time, I didn't dare to sleep alone. I wasn't timid. I was afraid. I was afraid that when I woke up, I would be alone again. At that time, I only had you. I was afraid that you would be gone when I woke up." Of course, Gu Chong remembered. At that time, he was also poor. He had prepared a small bed for Gu Huai. Who would have thought that when he woke up in the middle of the night, he would find a small figure curled up beside him? After asking, he found out that the child often came to him in the middle of the night and left before he woke up. No wonder he didn't notice. "When I asked you, you only said you were afraid of the dark. I didn't know. This has nothing to do with you." Gu Huai interrupted Gu Chong. "It's me who didn't tell you. How did you survive before you met me? Didn't you have servants to protect you? How did you end up in such a sorry state?" Gu Chong remembered clearly that when he found Gu Huai, there was no adult by his side. On a rainy night, a child in tattered clothes had collapsed beside the house he rented at the time, suffering from a high fever. If he hadn't met him, he wouldn't have survived so easily. Something happened. A few people were disloyal and wanted to hand me over for a reward. I saw through them and escaped under the protection of a few loyal servants. Gu Huai made light of the situation, but the actual situation was far more dangerous than he made it out to be. At that time, someone leaked the news and the people who were supposed to help them were replaced. There weren't many people protecting him to begin with. It was a close shave that allowed him to escape from those people. Those who protected him were all dead. In the end, he was the only one left. He didn't want to accept his fate. He was protected by the Lin family. No matter how difficult it was, he wanted to live. Only by living could he have a chance to take revenge. Those people poured basin after basin of dirty water on the Lin family. The souls of those who died in vain were wailing, but Gu Huai could do nothing. He could only protect himself, gather strength little by little, and wait for the best time to counterattack. He fell into the abyss in that fire and was pulled back to the human world by a pair of tender hands on a rainy night. He didn't want to implicate Gu Chong because of him, so he had to be very careful. Fortunately, Gu Chong didn't get involved in danger because of him. Genius 1 second. Remember this website, www.bq50. CC Literature Mobile Version Website, mbq50. CC. Chapter 256. Under such circumstances, Gu Chong could not help but nod in agreement. Gu Huai was very happy, his face overflowing with joy. Gu Chong watched, seeing him emerge from his childhood memories, and smiled faintly. "Brother, don't hide from me anymore." Gu Huai suddenly turned around and hugged Gu Chong. Gu Chong instinctively wanted to push him away. Sensing his intention, Gu Huai said dejectedly, Can't I even be close to my brother now? You used to let me hug you." Hearing the faint reproach in Gu Huai's tone, Gu Chong could not help but reflect on himself. Had he overreacted? Gu Huai had been clingy since he was young. Would his alienation have a bad influence on the child? Moreover, Gu Huai was just hugging him. There was nothing wrong with him. He was his only family. Hugging him would not hurt him. Feeling Gu Chong's loosening, Gu Huai's lips curled up. Gu Huai hugged Gu Huai. Gu Chong could not see his expression, but he felt that this hug was very warm. Gu Huai did not have a family, and neither did he. Gu Huai was greedy for his warmth, and he also needed Gu Huai to entrust his feelings. He and Gu Huai were like two entwined vines, inseparable. "All right, you've hugged for long enough. Let go." After some time, Gu Chong spoke. Gu Huai obediently let go. "Brother, let me show you my sword." The training field was fully equipped. Gu Huai stood up, took the long sword, and walked to the middle of the field. Gu Chong sat below, looking at the tall man. As they rose and fell, they both carried an extraordinary aura. It was as if he saw a young boy growing up bit by bit with the sword. This was the child he raised, and also his only family. Gu Huai's excellence made Gu Chong proud. After a day at the general's residence, their relationship was no longer stiff. Gu Chong no longer avoided Gu Huai intentionally or unintentionally. Everything seemed to have returned to the time when Gu Huai had not expressed his feelings. However, both of them knew that some things had quietly changed. The two spent the new year together. When Gu Huai was not busy, he would go to the Imperial Academy of Medicine to wait for Gu Chong to finish his duty as usual. Then they would go home together. On the days off, Gu Huai would help Gu Chong take care of the herbs at home. The courtyard where they lived had a special place to grow herbs. Before Gu Huai became an official, he took care of a lot of things. After Gu Huai became an official, in order to not tire his brother out, he sent a few meticulous and reliable servants to take care of the medicinal fields. "Brother, you just need to focus on your medical studies. Leave these menial tasks to the servants." These were Gu Huai's words at that time. With the arrival of spring, the planted medicinal plants sprouted. As the weather warmed up, they gradually grew. Early in the morning, Gu Chong waited for a long time, but Gu Huai, who had agreed to go out with him, did not appear. He went to the courtyard to look for him. "Xiao Huayu." Gu Chong suddenly paused when he saw the person in the courtyard. By the well, Gu Huai was bare-chested and pouring water on himself. The young man's skin texture was very beautiful. The water droplets meandered down his muscles. It was a lively scene. Caught off guard, Gu Chong quickly averted his gaze, but the image still formed in his mind. It turned out that in a place he did not notice, Xiao Huai had grown into a real man. At this moment, Gu Chong clearly realized that the brother he spent time with was no longer the weak youth who needed his protection, but an adult who could shelter him from the wind and rain. "Brother, why are you here? Did I keep you waiting for too long?" Gu Huai broke the silence. "You are? I just sweated from practicing martial arts. I wanted to wash up before going to find you." Seeing the redness spreading from Gu Chong's neck, Gu Huai touched the roof of his mouth with the tip of his tongue. "Brother, wait for me for a while." Accompanying Gu Huai's voice was the sound of water splashing and the rustling sound of fabric rubbing against each other. Gu Chong stood where he was, not knowing whether to leave or not. He did not know where to look. "I'll wait for you outside." "Brother, don't go. I'll be done soon." After waiting for a while, the sound of footsteps approached. Gu Huai walked to Gu Chong's side. "Brother, I'm done." After being blown by the cold wind for a while, the heat on Gu Chong's face subsided. Gu Huai looked at Gu Chong's recovered face, and a trace of regret flashed through his eyes. Gu Chong turned to look at Gu Huai. The man's face did not change. Gu Chong could only suppress the strange feeling in his heart and pretend nothing had happened. The two went out and got on the carriage, heading straight out of the capital. A few days ago, Gu Chong heard from his colleagues in the Imperial Academy of Medicine that a rare medicinal herb had appeared on a mountain outside the capital. They were going there for this herb. The mountain was quiet and secluded. Gu Chong and Gu Huai walked on an unopened path. As they walked, Gu Huai brushed away the branches and leaves blocking the way for Gu Chong. The sun was rising, and they were getting closer to their destination. Gu Cheng was sweating. He wiped the sweat off his forehead and asked, "Xiao Huai, do you want to rest?" "Brother, drink some water." Gu Huai took out a water bottle and handed it to Gu Cheng. Gu Cheng took it and drank a few mouthfuls. The two rested for a while and continued walking. Not long after, they arrived at the place where the herb grew. Gu Cheng saw that a few of the herbs were not in good condition and wanted to bring them back to see if they could be saved. He told Gu Huai and went to dig for the herbs. "Brother, be careful." Gu Cheng dug seriously and did not notice that a colorful poisonous snake was getting closer and closer to him. Hearing Gu Huai's voice, he subconsciously turned around and looked at the poisonous snake hanging on the branch. It was too close. Gu Cheng recognized this type of snake. It was very poisonous. If he was bitten and did not treat it in time, he would most likely lose his life. Fear overpowered all reactions. He froze in place, afraid that any movement would cause the snake to attack. As he was thinking about how to avoid the snake's attack, a branch shot straight at him and pierced through the snake's body, nailing it to the tree trunk. It was Gu Huai. Gu Huai quickly ran to Gu Cheng's side and pulled him aside. Only when he was sure that Gu Cheng was fine did he let out a sigh of relief. Gu Huai held Gu Cheng tightly in his arms. He raised his hand with difficulty and patted the man's back. "I'm fine. Don't be afraid. I'm fine now." Gu Huai did not say anything. His heart was still beating wildly. When he found that the snake was too close to Gu Cheng, his hands were shaking. He had never been so scared before. After this incident, it was already late. Gu Cheng packed up and went down the mountain with Gu Huai. He knew that Gu Huai was frightened. When he was held, he felt the man's body trembling. On the way back, Gu Huai held Gu Cheng's hand and said in a low voice, "Brother, don't do such a dangerous thing next time. If you need any herbs, let me know. I'll get someone to pick them." "Okay." Gu Cheng touched Gu Huai's head. He was just frightened at the time. Now he was fine. He had brought the snake back. The more poisonous the snake, the better the effect of the medicine. On the other hand, Gu Huai was still scared. In fact, before coming this time, Gu Huai had asked others to come. It was Gu Cheng who insisted. Gu Huai could not persuade him and had to come along. Gu Cheng didn't expect to encounter such a thing. After returning home, Gu Cheng made Gu Huai a calming medicine and watched him take it. "Rest for a while. I'll go outside and clean up." "I'll go with you." Gu Huai followed behind Gu Cheng like a little tail. He was very anxious and did not want Gu Cheng to leave his sight. After this incident, Gu Cheng found that Gu Huai was even more clingy to him. If not for Gu Cheng's insistence, Gu Huai would have clung to him even at night. The moonlight shone on the ground. Gu Cheng heard the sound of water. He followed the sound and saw Gu Huai waving at him from the water. Under the moonlight, everything was hazy and unpredictable. Gu Cheng did not know why Gu Huai was in the water. He could not help but step in and walk to the man. "Brother." Skin to skin, Gu Cheng felt the firm muscles on Gu Huai's body. The man's low and hoarse voice sounded in his ears. Their fingers lingered and water droplets slid down. His body was getting hotter and hotter. The surrounding environment had changed. He lay under Gu Huai and kissed the direction of the water droplets. "Brother, do you like it?" "Dislike it?" Gu Cheng asked himself honestly. He didn't dislike it. He just, before he could think carefully, a pair of strong arms wrapped around his waist. The man leaned close to his ear. "Brother, do you feel disgusted by what I'm doing?" Gu Cheng shook his head. "How about this?" Something touched his ear. Gu Cheng continued to shake his head. The distance between them kept closing. Gu Huai's eyes darkened. He first kissed Gu Cheng's earlobe. When he didn't feel any resistance, he slowly moved on. Cheeks, forehead, nose, all the way down. Finally, his hot breath stopped at his lips. Gu Cheng felt his heart beating faster and faster. He didn't know if it was because he was afraid of the kiss or because he was looking forward to it. When their lips touched, a barrier in Gu Cheng's heart collapsed. He hugged Gu Huai back. His action gave Gu Huai great encouragement. Gu Huai was overflowing with joy. His arms unconsciously tightened, as if he wanted to rub the person in his arms into his body. The kiss was getting crazier. Ugh. Gu Cheng's lips hurt and he groaned. This sound woke Gu Huai up. He let go of Gu Huai. Sorry, brother. Gu Cheng had time to breathe. He leaned on the man's shoulder and breathed slowly. Gu Huai was still hugging him. He didn't want to let go. His lips lingered on Gu Cheng's face, leaving a trail of wet marks. Gu Cheng felt that Gu Huai was really like a spoiled and clingy dog. Especially now, it was hard to resist. Brother, try it with me. Gu Cheng grabbed his hand and gasped. Don't touch me. If you don't object, I'll take it that you agree. Gu Huai knew Gu Cheng's character, so he didn't force him to say it. I'm so happy. Gu Huai kissed him again. Brother. A breeze blew. The two of them, whose hearts were connected, hugged each other tightly. Their clothes were entwined. The rest of their lives were complete. Genius 1 second. Remember this website. www.bq50. CC Literature Mobile Version Website. mbq50. CC. Chapter 257. On the day he returned to Subei from the northern desert, Jiang Huiqing felt an indescribable sense of unease. He did not know where this feeling came from, nor did he know why. He could not figure it out, so he thought it was because he was homesick. Very few people knew about his movements. This time, only He Chengyu, who had been covering for him, knew about his return. It was already late at night when he arrived. In order not to attract attention, the He residents did not make any big movements. Jiang Huiqing and the hidden dragon guards escorting him entered the He residence in the dark. Brother Chengyu? When Jiang Huiqing entered his courtyard, he saw an unexpected person. Sorry, I cannot hold a welcome banquet for you. Huiqing, you have worked hard. He Chengyu took 2 steps forward, as if he wanted to get closer to Jiang Huiqing, but for some reason, he stopped halfway. There is no need for such trouble. Jiang Huiqing stood in the same spot. I have troubled official He for this period of time. Huiqing, why are you so distant from me? He Chengyu's fingers that were hanging in his sleeves curled up. Jiang Huiqing did not know what to say. They had not seen each other for almost a year. Whether it was He Chengyu or him, they had changed a lot. The man standing in front of him had an imposing aura. Even in the northern desert, he had heard a lot of news about He Chengyu. After taking power in Subei, He Chengyu reorganized the government and reformed the old system. In the shortest time possible, he turned Subei back on the right path. Under his leadership, Subei had begun to flourish. Before they arrived at the He residence, Jiang Huiqing had observed the lives of the people in Subei. Compared to when they had just arrived, it was completely different. Now, the people in Subei lived and worked in peace. They did not have to worry about being attacked by outsiders. They could live their own lives. Everyone had a happy smile on their faces. Everywhere was full of vitality. The man standing in front of him was the one who brought about this change in Subei. Jiang Huiqing had always known that He Chengyu was very outstanding, but he had never expected him to achieve so much in such a short time. Little did he know that half of the reason why He Chengyu could achieve so much was because of him. The two of them looked at each other. It seemed like something had changed, but it also seemed like nothing had changed. He Chengyu struggled to suppress the feelings in his heart. In the end, he was defeated under Jiang Huiqing's gaze. He strode forward quickly, not giving Jiang Huiqing a chance to react, and directly pulled her into his arms. Let him be selfish this time, He Chengyu thought. Huiqing, it's good that you came back safely. A hug dispelled the estrangement between the two of them. Jiang Huiqing's eyes were hot, and he reached out to hug her. I'm back. I miss you, Huiqing. He Chengyu's voice was lower than usual. Jiang Huiqing wanted to see his expression, but he was held in the man's arms and couldn't move, so he had to give up. I miss you too. After being hugged for a while, Jiang Huiqing whispered. He Chengyu was the first person he met who was so compatible with him. They were like-minded, knowledgeable, and had a pleasant conversation. If not for this, Jiang Huiqing wouldn't have gone with He Chengyu just to help him out. He Chengyu's existence filled the gap between Jiang Huiqing and Jiang Huiqing after the death of his teacher. He Chengyu was a close friend to Jiang Huiqing, an older brother, or perhaps there were other feelings that the master hadn't discovered yet. Can you tell me about the northern desert? After a quarter of an hour, He Chengyu restrained himself and let go of her. Jiang Huiqing was still a little reluctant. He hugged He Chengyu's waist and rubbed his shoulder. Back into Huan, he didn't need to be the flawless Mr. Yufeng anymore. He was just him, Jiang Huiqing, a young man who had just entered the officialdom. He didn't need to be perfect. He Chengyu barely stopped himself from hugging Jiang Huiqing again. The joy and excitement in his heart were much more than Jiang Huiqing's. In this year, not only did his feelings for Jiang Huiqing not disappear because they couldn't see each other, but it also deepened his feelings. It's late. Let's go inside first. He Chengyu's voice was slightly hoarse. That's right. It's not good to stand outside all the time. We haven't seen each other for so long. I have a lot to say to you. The two entered the house. The person who played Jiang Huiqing had already left. Jiang Huiqing looked around. The furnishings in the house were the same as when he left. Just tell me if there's anything you want. He Chengyu followed behind him. The decorations here are the same as when you left. If there's anything you don't like, just tell me directly. Everything is to my liking. It's already so late. Brother Chengyu, why don't you go and rest first? After entering the house, Jiang Huiqing realized that it was already late. He was too excited to sleep because he returned to Dahuan, but He Chengyu was not necessarily not sleepy. It's okay. I'm usually busy with work until late. Besides, we haven't seen each other for a long time. I also want to talk to you more. Since He Chengyu said so, Jiang Huiqing didn't refuse anymore. He picked some things that could be said to He Chengyu. After going deep into the northern desert, Jiang Huiqing realized how different the northern desert was from Dahuan. At first, I wasn't used to the lifestyle of the northern desert people. I thought that it would be best if I could come back as soon as possible. Later, I got used to it and felt that it was okay. I had too many things to think about and didn't have the energy to think about other things. Only when the situation stabilized could I breathe a sigh of relief. At that time, I really missed the days in Dahuan. Sometimes, when I encountered something interesting, I always wanted to share it with Brother Chengyu. Unfortunately, at that time, I couldn't even write a letter to Dahuan. There couldn't be any mistakes. I could only silently remember it in my heart. Maybe one day, I could travel the northern desert with Brother Chengyu. He Chengyu's heart softened. He knew that Jiang Huiqing didn't have that kind of feelings for him at the moment. However, this didn't stop him from being happy about it. He was a special person in Jiang Huiqing's heart. This knowledge made He Chengyu's heart boil. He told himself over and over again that he couldn't scare Jiang Huiqing. He had to do it step by step. Most of the time, it was Jiang Huiqing talking and He Chengyu listening. Unknowingly, the outside of the window gradually brightened. The candles burned to the bottom and Jiang Huiqing stopped talking. It's daybreak. After daybreak, everything returned to normal. Jiang Huiqing slowly appeared in front of everyone after, recovering from a serious illness. He was still living in the He manor. He also saw how busy He Chengyu was. A few days later, the imperial court sent a message telling them to prepare to return to the capital. Jiang Huiqing didn't have many things on hand. He Chengyu handed over to the other officials, and the two of them stepped on the road back to the capital together. With He Chengyu, Jiang Huiqing didn't find the journey boring. These days, he learned from He Chengyu about what happened in Dahuan in the past year, and the various changes in the imperial court. We're here. He Chengyu's voice pulled Jiang Huiqing back from his thoughts. Jiang Huiqing lifted the curtain of the carriage and looked outside. The streets were bustling with people. Compared to when they left, it seemed more prosperous. What are you thinking about? Why are you so lost in thought? Nothing. I just feel a bit unaccustomed to suddenly returning to the capital from the northern desert. Jiang Huiqing lowered the curtain and sat up straight. What's there to be unaccustomed to? He Chengyu smiled and poured him a cup of tea. He handed it to him. This time, His Majesty will probably let you stay in the capital. For many years to come, you will live here. No matter what happens in the northern desert, this is the place where we should work together. Brother Chengyu is right. Jiang Huiqing took the tea and took a sip. I haven't seen you for a year. Brother Chengyu's tea skills have improved. It's good that you didn't disappoint me. The carriage passed through the bustling streets and quiet alleys. It stopped in front of a secluded courtyard. A servant who had already received the news was waiting in front of the courtyard. When he saw the carriage coming, he hurried forward. "Sirs, it must have been a tiring journey. Hot water and food have been prepared inside. Sirs, are you? Wash up first." He Chengyu, who loved cleanliness, couldn't stand the dust from the journey. After speaking, he helped Jiang Huiqing, who was getting off the carriage. "Where's Huiqing? I'm also going to wash up first." Along the way, the food was arranged by He Chengyu. It wasn't mealtime now, so Jiang Huiqing wasn't hungry. The servant respectfully led Jiang Huiqing and He Chengyu inside. This courtyard was where they had temporarily stayed to avoid the endless stream of matchmakers. This time, after asking Jiang Huiqing's opinion, they finally decided to stay here first. Their rooms were close to each other. When they reached his room, Jiang Huiqing bid farewell to He Chengyu and entered his own room. The servant quickly prepared the hot water. Jiang Huiqing took off his clothes and soaked in the hot water. He sighed softly. The hot water washed away his tiredness. Jiang Huiqing soaked for a while and reluctantly got out of the bathtub. He changed into a clean set of clothes and went out. He Chengyu had already tidied himself up and stood outside. When he saw Jiang Huiqing coming out, he walked over. "Huiqing, do you want to rest at home or go out for a walk?" "I'll rest for today. I have to go to the palace later." He had to go to the palace and personally report to the emperor about the northern desert. Jiang Huiqing had made a great contribution to the northern desert. He went to the palace and brought back countless rewards. He Chengyu accompanied him to pack up these things. "In the future, I'll have to rely on Huiqing to take care of me." "Brother Chengyu, what are you talking about? There's no need to be so polite between you and me." After returning to the capital, they didn't have a new position for the time being. After reporting what they had done last year, they had a long break. He Chengyu received a letter from home saying that his sister had found a good husband and had given birth to a son this year. He was now an uncle and asked if he had time to go home. He Chengyu had promised to celebrate the new year with Jiang Huiqing. He couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. Jiang Huiqing didn't know about this because he had an appointment with He Chengyu to buy something. When he didn't see He Chengyu go out, he thought that he was delayed by something and went to find him. He didn't expect to hear the housekeeper talking to an unfamiliar servant in the courtyard. "Sir doesn't want to go back. You can reply to the He family and say that Sir is busy this year. We shouldn't interfere in Sir's matters, but this time, there's a new member in the family. Sir should go back and see his own nephew." Previously, when Miss got married, Sir was in Subei and couldn't go back. Master, Madam, and the other young masters and young ladies were all very regretful. This time, "I know what you mean, but we can't change Sir's decision." Jiang Huiqing was surprised to hear this news. He recalled that He Chengyu had promised to spend the new year with him. He felt that He Chengyu might have his own reasons for not wanting to leave. After thinking about it, he walked over and asked, "What happened?" The housekeeper knew Jiang Huiqing's position in He Chengyu's heart and also knew why He Chengyu didn't want to go back. He originally wanted to change the topic, but who would have thought that the other person couldn't hold back and blurted out the truth in a few sentences? After confirming his suspicions, Jiang Huiqing said, "I'll tell Brother Chengyu about this. Don't be in a hurry to reply to the He family. This is an important matter, so we should go back and take a look." "Thank you, Sir Jiang." The servant was overjoyed. Seeing He Chengyu, Jiang Huiqing said bluntly, "Brother Chengyu, did something happen at home?" "It's nothing important." He Chengyu didn't want Jiang Huiqing to know. "I know. Your family sent a letter asking you to go back, so you should go back. Looking at the time, you haven't been back for more than 2 years. You should go back and take a look. You're free this year, otherwise, who knows when you'll have time next time." Jiang Huiqing advised, "I've already promised you. How can a gentleman break his promise?" He Chengyu wasn't moved. "You and I both have matters to attend to. Even if we can't be together this time, there will be many opportunities in the future. If you can't reunite with your family because of me, I will feel uneasy." "But—" He Chengyu seemed to be moved. "Besides, don't you want to go back and see your nephew? You haven't seen him since he was born, right?" Seeing that He Chengyu's expression was becoming more and more relaxed, Jiang Huiqing wanted to continue his persuasion. Unexpectedly, The other party suddenly spoke. How about Huiqing come with me? He Qingyu seemed to think this method was feasible. He continued, this way, I won't fail to live up to my promise to Huiqing. Zhang Huiqing. Ah. Genius 1 second. Remember this website. www.bq50. CC Literature Mobile Version Reading Website. BQ50. CC. Chapter 258. He Qingyu didn't give Jiang Huiqing a chance to refuse and quickly made a decision. By the time Jiang Huiqing reacted, the matter had already been settled. You're going back to see your family. It's not good for me to go, right? Jiang Huiqing tried to make a final struggle. What's not good about it? Huiqing, you said before that you wanted to be my younger brother. Since you and I are brothers, my family is naturally your family. Do you want me to be a person who breaks my promise? He Qingyu said. Jiang Huiqing wanted to say that he really didn't mind being alone. He had been alone for so many years, but this year, he had some expectations and felt that he didn't need to be alone. Now that he had returned to his original state, it was nothing. But when he looked into He Qingyu's eyes, they were filled with anticipation and the master was trying to hide his nervousness. Jiang Huiqing's heart suddenly softened. Brother Qingyu was afraid that he would refuse. In a daze, Jiang Huiqing agreed. He Qingyu's eyes flashed. He quickly ordered the servants to pack up. If they wanted to go back, they had to leave as soon as possible. Jiang Huiqing didn't need to do anything. He Qingyu took care of everything very well. He even packed the luggage and took the carriage to Jiangnan. The He family of Jiangnan had already received the news in advance that He Qingyu was bringing someone back. In order to make Jiang Huiqing feel at ease in the He family, He Qingyu nagged a lot. He Qingyu's father was now the head of the He family. When he received his son's letter, the head of the He family was speechless. Look at your good son's letter. Most of it is telling us not to make his friend feel uncomfortable. He's been away from home for so long, but he doesn't know how to care about us. Madam, he snatched the letter and said disapprovingly, it's not easy for Qingyu to come back. You can't be like before, pulling a long face all the time. It's not easy for him to make friends. Look at all these years. When has he ever cared so much about anyone? That's true. Family head, he rubbed his chin. His letter was full of praises. I want to see if his friend is as good as he says. Qingyu has always had a good eye for people. He wouldn't be deceived. He said that he met this friend when he was rushing to the capital for the imperial examinations. He was young and came third in the imperial examinations. He looked like a good child. Madam, he trusted her eldest son's judgment. Family head, he had a headache and held his forehead. His wife was good in every way, but she liked good-looking children. All these years, family head, he had been jealous a lot because of this. Qingyu said to arrange for the child to stay in his own courtyard. Should we arrange a separate place for the child, or do we follow the instructions in the letter? Let's arrange for him to stay in Qingyu's courtyard. His courtyard is big enough. Moreover, the child is unfamiliar with this place. It will be easier to take care of him if he stays with Qingyu. Family head, he felt that Madam He's words were reasonable. Then let's do it this way. They will arrive in a few days. Tell the servants to be more efficient. The distance between the capital and the He family in Jiangnan wasn't too far. Other than the carriage, they still had to take a boat. It was Jiang Huiqing's first time on a boat. It was very refreshing. After getting off the carriage, the group of people arrived at the ferry. Jiang Huiqing saw the big boat docked by the river. His eyes were filled with amazement. Huiqing, do you like it? He Qingyu asked when he felt the change in his son's mood. It's my first time seeing such a big boat. Jiang Huiqing had always lived in the mountains with his teacher, but he had never seen such a big boat before. Jiangnan has a lot of water. When we arrive at the He family, I will take you on a boat tour. The kind of boat that is specially used for sightseeing is quite different from this kind of transport boat. Jiang Huiqing was indeed curious, so he gladly agreed. The group of people boarded the boat. The boat swayed, and Jiang Huiqing's excitement faded. His face became paler and paler. It was Jiang Huiqing's first time on a boat. As expected, he became seasick. Jiang Huiqing leaned on the table. He never knew that seasickness could be so unbearable. He Qingyu touched his forehead. His heart ached. The man's hand was cold. Jiang Huiqing sighed and rubbed his hand against the man's palm. How much longer do we have to sit for? Jiang Huiqing propped himself up and asked. There are still 2.5 days. I have already sent the servants to find medicine. Bear with it. He Qingyu sat down beside Jiang Huiqing. He picked him up and placed him on his shoulder. Jiang Huiqing leaned weakly on He Qingyu's shoulder. You said before that I might get seasick, but I didn't take it seriously. He didn't expect seasickness to be so unbearable. The servants came back with medicine, but it could only alleviate some of the symptoms. Jiang Huiqing still felt uncomfortable. He had no appetite for food. He vomited after eating, so he could only eat porridge. He Qingyu had been by his side the whole time, taking care of him in every detail, making Jiang Huiqing very embarrassed. Raise your head a little. He Qingyu wiped Jiang Huiqing's face with a soaked handkerchief. Jiang Huiqing obediently raised his head. His face was red. Half of it was because of seasickness, and the other half was because of embarrassment. We will arrive in half a day. I didn't think it through and made Huiqing feel uncomfortable, even though he was so close to the person he liked. Seeing Jiang Huiqing's uncomfortable appearance, He Qingyu didn't have the slightest bit of beautiful thoughts. He only wished that he could be in his place. It has nothing to do with Brother Qingyu. Jiang Huiqing shook his head. Thank you for taking care of me these 2 days. You don't have to be so polite with me. Finally, it was time to disembark. With He Qingyu's help, Jiang Huiqing got off the boat weakly. The He family had already sent servants to wait for them. When they saw He Qingyu, they came to greet him. He Qingyu rested with Jiang Huiqing for a while before continuing on their journey. After leaving the boat, Jiang Huiqing regained his energy. Along the way, he couldn't help but look out. The scenery in Jiangnan was very different from that in the capital. This place was as prosperous as the capital, but there was a sense of gentleness everywhere. The He family mansion was located in a bustling area and occupied a large area. When they arrived, the other members of the He family had already been waiting for a long time. He Qingyu and his group were travel-worn. After a simple greeting with the He family, they returned to their courtyard to wash up and rest. Their life in the He family was very pleasant. The problem that Jiang Huiqing had been worried about didn't happen. The He family was very kind and easy to get along with, especially Madame He. She was very fond of Jiang Huiqing. The He family wasn't surprised at all. Jiang Huiqing's appearance was outstanding. He was well-behaved and had a good personality. Even if He Qingyu hadn't told them in advance, the He family felt that they would still like to get along with such a person. Jiang Huiqing saw He Qingyu's little nephew. The little guy was 3 months old. He was very cute and had a good personality. He rarely cried. With Madame He's help, Jiang Huiqing carefully picked up the little guy. The child was soft and had a milky fragrance. Jiang Huiqing didn't dare to move too much for fear of hurting him. The child wasn't shy with strangers. He smiled at Jiang Huiqing. He likes you too, Madame He said from the side. He's so small. Jiang Huiqing carried the baby. He looks a little like Brother Qingyu. The nephew looks like his uncle. He's so cute. Madame He took out a small toy to play with the baby in Jiang Huiqing's arms. The baby giggled. Jiang Huiqing brought the toy. He didn't know what to give to He Qingyu's family, so he prepared a few things. They weren't very expensive, but they showed the effort of the person who prepared them. The He family was rich and didn't care about money. Jiang Huiqing's gift hit the nail on the head. The more they interacted with each other, the more they liked it. Was Brother Qingyu like this when he was young? Jiang Huiqing asked as he played with the baby in his arms. It was hard to imagine He Qingyu when he was young. Qingyu is different, Madame He said. Qingyu didn't like to smile when he was young. After he was appointed as the heir, he didn't have many expressions on his face. He also didn't like to interact with people. As his mother, I was very worried. Now that he's close to you, his father and I are relieved. It means that he didn't like the people he met before. He didn't have many friends since he was young. If he didn't do well, I hope you can forgive him. If he bullies you in the future, you can write a letter to his father and ask him to teach him a lesson. He didn't bully you. She looked as if she would teach him a lesson if he bullied you. Jiang Huiqing's ears turned red when he heard Madame He's protective words. He quickly said, No, Brother Qingyu is very good. He knows how to take care of people. I was seasick when I came here. Thank you for taking care of me. It's good that you can get along well. Madam He was relieved when she heard that her eldest son knew how to take care of people. Qingyu came back from outside. When he saw Jiang Huiqing holding his little nephew and talking to Madam He had the illusion that his mother was teaching her how to take care of a child. Qingyu shook his head to get rid of the unrealistic thought in his mind. He sneered in his heart and thought that he must have been possessed. Jiang Huiqing looked up and saw Qingyu walking in. Brother Qingyu, you're back. Qingyu strode in. Jiang Huiqing wanted to show the baby to him. Brother Qingyu, look. The baby is looking for you. The little guy's eyes were round. As soon as Qingyu came close, the little guy turned around. Jiang Huiqing was shocked. He really knows Brother Qingyu. Qingyu had just come back from outside. His body was cold, so he couldn't hold the baby. Jiang Huiqing could only hold the baby and play with him from a distance. After holding him for a while, the baby got tired and fell asleep in Jiang Huiqing's arms. Jiang Huiqing handed the baby to the wet nurse. After bidding farewell to Madam He left with Qingyu. Huiqing likes children? Qingyu asked when they returned to the courtyard. His heart sank. If Jiang Huiqing really liked children and wanted a child that was related to him by blood, what should he do? Was he willing to let go just like that? Qingyu asked himself in his heart, and the answer he received was that he was unwilling. He couldn't imagine the scene of Jiang Huiqing marrying and having children in the future. If such a day really came, in order to not do something irrational and harm Jiang Huiqing, he could only take the initiative to leave and stay far away. Huiqing, have you thought about when to get married? There are many officials in the imperial court who want to marry Huiqing. Their daughters are all very outstanding. If Huiqing has any plans, you have to tell me in advance. The jealousy in his heart spread like wild grass, but he didn't show it on his face. Even his tone was normal. He only silently planned in his heart. If that day really came, what should he do? No, he wouldn't allow that day to come. I haven't thought about it. Jiang Huiqing didn't know what dangerous thoughts were in his heart. He lowered his head and felt his face heat up. It's not that I like children. I just feel that he looks like Brother Qingyu. If Brother Qingyu has a child in the future, I think I'll like it very much too. Do you like it because it looks like me? Genius 1 second. Remember this website. www.bq50. CC Literature Mobile Version Website. mbq50. CC. Chapter 259. Now was not the time. Qingyu restrained himself. He had to wait a little longer. He couldn't let his feelings scare Huiqing. Jiang Huiqing had no idea what Qingyu was thinking. His hand was held by the other party. He struggled slightly but couldn't break free. He stopped moving and asked, "What's wrong, Brother Qingyu?" "Nothing. I'm just thinking that Huiqing's wish won't come true." "What?" Jiang Huiqing took a while to react. He asked tentatively, "Brother Qingyu, you don't plan to get married and have children?" Qingyu shook his head. "No, I don't." "Why? Does Huiqing want me to get married?" Jiang Huiqing didn't realize that when Qingyu said the answer, he felt a flash of joy in his heart. However, this emotion dissipated too quickly. Before he could realize it, his attention was attracted by the next sentence. Does he want Brother Qingyu to get married? Jiang Huiqing realized that he didn't know the answer. Logically speaking, he should want it. But when he thought of a woman being intimate with Qingyu, he felt very uncomfortable. Okay, whether Huiqing wants it or not, I won't get married. If I want to get married, it must be to the person I like. If I marry a woman I don't like, it's not good for either of us. Since we don't like each other, why waste her time? Qingyu didn't plan to force Jiang Huiqing to say anything. He had finally gained something from this conversation. He had originally thought that Huiqing only treated him as a friend, but now it seemed that he had come to a conclusion too early. Since there were signs, there was no need for him to be impatient. After this conversation, Jiang Huiqing wanted to calm down and think about it. However, reality didn't give him much of a chance. The younger generation of the He family liked him and pestered him with questions from time to time. These juniors ranged from a few years old to over 10 years old. They were all members of the He family. They knew that Jiang Huiqing was the third flower of the last competition and were very curious about him. On the other hand, He Qingyu was the one with whom no one of the younger generation dared to disturb him. This elder brother of his had accumulated a lot of power and influence. How could he be as easy to get along with as the good-tempered and patient Jiang Huiqing? Jiang Huiqing looked at the crowded scene on his side, and then looked at He Qingyu's side where no one showed any interest. He suddenly remembered what He Qingyu had said to him. "None of my younger brothers and sisters are close to me. No wonder Brother Qingyu was so good to him." It turned out that no one appreciated his brotherly love and could only pour it on him. Brother Qingyu was clearly a very competent and good elder brother. Jiang Huiqing felt that he should let the younger generation of the He family know this. Brother Qingyu also yearns for them to be close to each other. Family members do not need to be too distant. Of course, before this matter was completed, it was best not to let Brother Qingyu know. It was just nice to give him a surprise. Picking a day when He Qingyu was not around, Jiang Huiqing gathered the little radishes of the He family together and told them about He Qingyu. He rambled on a lot, which made the listeners feel more and more strange. Was he describing their dignified elder brother who made people tremble when they got close to him? They were not the same person at all, okay? They did not know why Jiang Huiqing had such an understanding. They looked at each other and felt that they had to expose their elder brother's conspiracy and let Jiang Huiqing see their elder brother's true colors clearly. Don't be fooled by others and foolishly believe it to be true. After Jiang Huiqing finished speaking, he saw that the expressions of the little radishes around him were not right. He asked, "What's wrong? Why does Brother Jiang think that we don't want to play with our elder brother?" The little radishes pushed each other and pushed a representative out. Of course, Jiang Huiqing would not directly say that it was He Qingyu who told him. He said, "It's easy to see that you usually only come to find me and not your elder brother. Brother Jiang, don't be fooled by our elder brother. It's not that we don't go find him, it's that he's too fierce." That's right. He's even scarier than the teacher." The children all started to complain at once. Originally, Jiang Huiqing wanted to let these children know about Brother Qingyu's intentions. Who would have thought that it would become a gathering of children complaining about their elder brother's evil deeds? Because of this, Jiang Huiqing discovered that his understanding and the truth seemed to be somewhat different. However, he could not figure out why He Qingyu would lie to him about this matter. Yes, through the children's complaints, Jiang Huiqing had already realized that He Qingyu's words were not true. However, he could not figure out why He Qingyu would say such things. Jiang Huiqing decided to find a time to ask. The He family had a large business and many people, so it was very lively. However, this had nothing to do with Jiang Huiqing. He lived in He Qingyu's courtyard, and no one would disturb him. He Qingyu had left home for 2 years. After returning, he had a lot of things to do and often went out. At first, He Qingyu was afraid that Jiang Huiqing would not be used to being alone in the He family and wanted to bring him along. However, Jiang Huiqing rejected him. The He family was very easy to get along with. He was not unaccustomed to being here. On the contrary, he felt a warmth that he had never felt before. Seeing that his expression did not seem forced, He Qingyu did not insist. Remembering that he had a hot spring villa, He Qingyu asked Jiang Huiqing if he wanted to go there. Jiang Huiqing had never soaked in a hot spring before and felt that it was very novel. After confirming that He Qingyu was really done with his work, he agreed. The villa was under Madame He's name. Before going, He Qingyu first went to see his mother. After hearing the purpose of his visit, Madame He said, "If you want to go, just go. You don't have to tell me. Huiqing is a good child. You are not allowed to bully him." "Why would I bully him?" He Qingyu said. "Others might not be able to tell, but I can tell." Madam, he looked at him unhappily. "Only Huiqing trusts you. That's why he didn't think in that direction." "I know, mother." He Qingyu did not know what to do with his mother. "I promise that I won't bully him. Is that okay? We won't object to who you like. You have your own ideas since you were young. But you have to know that feelings are different from other things. You can't force it. Looking at you, you don't plan to hide it anymore. Have you thought about what you will do if Huiqing can't accept it?" Madame He's expression became serious. At first, Madame He did not think much of it, but after spending some time together, He Qingyu's behavior became more obvious. It was hard not to know. She was wondering how good their relationship was before he brought her back. He even repeatedly reminded her to let her live comfortably. It turned out that he had other thoughts. She was very satisfied with Huiqing. Master He also praised him. Now, they were worried about their son. That child was obviously not enlightened. He was foolishly coaxed back by her son. He Qingyu looked indifferent on the surface. Her son knew that once he really wanted something, he would get it no matter what. Mother, don't worry. I know what to do. He Qingyu could not bear to hurt Jiang Huiqing. Even if he hurt himself, he would not hurt Jiang Huiqing. After talking with his family, He Qingyu brought Jiang Huiqing to the hot spring villa. It was Jiang Huiqing's first time here. He was very excited and talked a lot with He Qingyu. He Qingyu did not need to think too much when he was beside him. Instead, he was more youthful than usual. He Qingyu was happy to see him like this. Naturally, he did not remind him. This was a side that only he could see. Knowing that someone was coming, the villa had already prepared everything. Jiang Huiqing followed behind He Qingyu. Everything was new. If you like it, I will bring you here again in the future, He Qingyu said as they walked. I can't come here often in the future. Jiang Huiqing shook his head. What's wrong with that? Huiqing, you can come whenever you want. He Qingyu brought Jiang Huiqing to the hot spring. This was a natural hot spring with a total of 6 springs. Because there were only 2 people, He Qingyu brought Jiang Huiqing to a pool that was not very big. The steam was dense. The servants brought clothes for the 2 of them to change into. Jiang Huiqing soaked in the hot spring. The hot steam rushed into his body. He sighed softly. There was a wooden tray on the surface of the water. On it were various snacks and drinks. He Qingyu poured a glass of wine and handed it to Jiang Huiqing. This is the best plum wine. Do you want to try it? Jiang Huiqing took it and took a sip. He Qingyu sat beside Jiang Huiqing and turned to look at Jiang Huiqing. The young man's face was faintly pink. It was steamed by the steam, or because of the wine he just drank. He Qingyu's eyes darkened slightly. It would be a lie to say that he was not moved when his sweetheart sat beside him without any defense. He Qingyu silently chanted scriptures in his heart to suppress the possible reaction of his body. Brother Qingyu, my back is a little itchy. Can you help me? Jiang Huiqing was a little embarrassed. I'll help you later. As soon as he finished speaking, the person beside him did not move for a long time. Jiang Huiqing was a little nervous. He wondered if his request was too much. It's okay if you don't want to do it. I'm not. No. He Qingyu did not wait for him to finish his sentence. But for some reason, his voice was a little hoarse. As he spoke, He Qingyu grabbed Jiang Huiqing's shoulder and turned him so that his back was facing him. Where is it itchy? Back, shoulders. Jiang Huiqing's soaked clothes were removed, and his fair back was exposed. He Qingyu picked up a handkerchief and wiped his back with moderate strength. Jiang Huiqing sat upright for a while. He felt a little tired and lay down by the side of the pool. The steam was so hot that it made him sleepy. Suddenly, Jiang Huiqing felt his waist being touched and could not help but shrink inwards. Don't move. The man's voice seemed to be restraining something. Jiang Huiqing sensed the abnormal atmosphere around him. His body stiffened, and he did not dare to move again. Okay, Brother Qingyu, that's enough. This atmosphere made Jiang Huiqing very uneasy. His sleepiness was swept away, but his mind was a mess. He just wanted to get away. Huiqing. His palm was even hotter than the spring water. Wherever he touched, it was as if a fire had been lit and burned. Brother Qingyu, let go of me. I don't want to soak anymore. Jiang Huiqing panicked and wanted to escape. He did not know what had happened to He Qingyu. He was shackled by the man and could not turn back. Naturally, he could not see the intense emotions in the man's eyes. That was the look in the man's eyes when looking at prey, a look that wanted to tear him apart and eat him. He Qingyu closed his eyes. He had to admit that he had overestimated his self-control. When Jiang Huiqing was unguarded and had his back to him, it gave him the illusion that he could do whatever he wanted. They were so close that it was as if he could reach out and pull the other into his arms and get what he wanted. The The temptation was too great. It was so great that He Chengyu wanted to take the risk. Zhang Huiqing was not completely without feelings for him, was he? Genius 1 second. Remember this website, www.bq50cc literature mobile version reading website, mbq50cc. Chapter 260. Zhang Huiqing's mind went blank. He didn't even realize that he was in the arms of the man behind him. What was He Chengyu talking about? What did he mean by being in love with him? Did he mishear something? After a long while, Zhang Huiqing said as if he had just woken up from a dream, You're joking, right? Why did he suddenly fall in love with him? Zhang Huiqing couldn't understand. He had always treated He Chengyu as a close friend, confidant, and brother. Didn't He Chengyu treat him the same way? I'm not joking. Huiqing, do you think I'm the kind of person who would joke about such things? He Chengyu's tone was slightly nervous, but at this time, Zhang Huiqing couldn't tell. He was so shocked by this news that he was almost speechless. He and He Chengyu had known each other for many years. Of course, he knew that He Chengyu wouldn't joke about such things. Since it wasn't a joke, then it must be true. Brother Chengyu was in love with him. Zhang Huiqing's mind was in a mess. Zhang Huiqing really didn't know what to say in this situation. His whole body was stiff. He Chengyu hugged him and could feel his reaction. His eyes darkened. Huiqing didn't break free from his arms. Did he not dislike his touch, or did he forget to react because of the shock? What about Huiqing? Do you hate me after knowing my feelings? I hate? Zhang Huiqing asked himself in his heart, and the answer he got was that he didn't hate it. Not only did he not hate it, but he was also secretly surprised. However, this joy was hidden too deep, and he didn't feel it in his current state. Zhang Huiqing shook his head and murmured, I don't hate you. He Chengyu was delighted. He moved forward, and the distance between the two of them instantly shortened. Waves of heat came, and the young man's porcelain-white skin was dyed red. The skin under his palm was delicate. He Chengyu loved it so much that he couldn't put it down. His remaining reason warned him not to do anything he shouldn't do. However, with his lover in his arms and in such a position, how could he not have any reaction at all? He Chengyu restrained himself and planted a kiss on the side of the young man's face. Zhang Huiqing only felt something wet and warm touch the side of his face. He was dazed for a moment, then suddenly realized what it was, and his face turned red. The feeling just now, was it Brother Chengyu's lips? Was he kissed by Brother Chengyu? His train of thought that had yet to be sorted out became even more chaotic. He did not turn around to confirm. At this time, it was not that He Chengyu did not want him to turn around, but he did not know how to face it, so he simply did not look. He couldn't see the love and desire in the eyes of the person behind him. Because he didn't turn around, that gaze was unbridled, sizing him up again and again like a predator looking for prey. The prey had already stepped into the hunter's carefully prepared trap and was still unaware of it. Brother Chengyu, can you let go of me first? Belatedly, Zhang Huiqing finally realized that there was something wrong with their posture. They were too close, and their hot bodies were pressed against each other. Their thin clothes could not block anything at all, and their body heat was transmitted to each other. Also, there was the pair of hands around his waist. Zhang Huiqing's body was getting hotter and hotter, especially his face. He did not need to look to know how red his face was now. He buried his face in his arms, trying in vain to cool himself down. He Chengyu silently let go and stepped back a little. He whispered, sorry, I couldn't control myself. After being let go, Zhang Huiqing felt the heat in his body dissipate a little. After what had happened, there was no way to soak in the hot spring. He panicked and wanted to leave. I don't want to soak, Brother Chengyu. His wrist was grabbed. It was not very forceful, but Zhang Huiqing still stopped in his tracks. Don't hate me, Huiqing. Zhang Huiqing nodded carelessly. Taking advantage of He Chengyu's release, he hurriedly ran away. He Chengyu stared at Zhang Huiqing's back with a faint gaze. He did not chase after him. He needed to calm down. If he chased after him, who knew what would happen? Zhang Huiqing was hiding from He Chengyu. Everyone in the He residence had noticed. Ever since they returned from the hot spring villa that day, it had started. Zhang Huiqing thought that he had covered it up, but he did not know that everyone knew. Even the little radishes who often pestered him to play had noticed that something was wrong. A few of the little radishes gathered together and discussed in private. What happened between Brother Jiang and Big Brother? The two of them have not been together recently. Ever since Zhang Huiqing came to the He residence, except when He Chengyu went out to do business, the two of them were almost inseparable. Everyone in the He residence knew how close their relationship was. Is it because we exposed Big Brother's lie last time? So Brother Jiang is angry with Big Brother? Then what should we do? If Big Brother knows, he will definitely punish us. Why don't we say more good things about Big Brother in front of Brother Jiang? We also have to tell Big Brother and let him admit his mistake in time to get Brother Jiang's forgiveness. That's right. After making up their minds, the little radishes divided into two groups and acted separately. The children who were chosen to go to He Chengyu's side were pushed to He Chengyu's door with a bitter face. He Chengyu opened the door and saw the unhappy children standing outside the room. He raised his eyebrows and asked, "What are you doing?" "Big Brother, we are here to apologize." The leading child took a deep breath and quickly told him what happened that day. The teacher said that if you know you are wrong, you are still a good child. Since Big Brother lied to Brother Jiang and made him unhappy, you should apologize. Brother Jiang is such a good person. He will not be angry with Big Brother. As he spoke, he carefully looked at Big Brother's expression. You are right. He Chengyu's mind was full of thoughts. You should apologize for doing something wrong. It had been so long. He could not let Huiqing continue to escape. These days, out of consideration for Zhang Huiqing's feelings, He Chengyu did not disturb him much. Zhang Huiqing wanted to avoid him, so he let him. He gave Zhang Huiqing enough time to react. It was time to see the results. Zhang Huiqing listened to the little radishes pleading for He Chengyu and was amused. Just at this time, He Chengyu stepped into the courtyard. How are you making up stories about me again? As He Chengyu's voice fell, the courtyard fell into silence. Big Brother. The little radishes stood up and saluted He Chengyu. He Chengyu nodded. Go play somewhere else for a while. I have something to tell your brother Jiang. The little radishes thought that their big brother was here to apologize and sent them away because he could not forgive them. In the blink of an eye, only Zhang Huiqing and He Chengyu were left in the courtyard. I'm here to apologize to Huiqing. He Chengyu went straight to the point. He did not expect that He Chengyu really came to apologize. Zhang Huiqing widened his eyes and swallowed the words he wanted to say. I was wrong. I should not have lied to Huiqing. He Chengyu admitted his mistake so quickly that Zhang Huiqing did not know what to say. Huiqing, do you want to know why I said that? Why? Because I wanted Huiqing to dote on me. Zhang Huiqing's face flushed red. He was shocked speechless by He Chengyu's straightforward words. Huiqing, you may not know, but I was already in love with you at that time. It was not a day or two, but 2 years. I knew that Huiqing was ambitious in the imperial court. I only wanted to be by Huiqing's side like before. I was already very satisfied to be able to occupy the identity of Huiqing's close friend. Another thunderclap struck Zhang Huiqing's heart. Zhang Huiqing was stunned and said blankly, 2 years ago, you already, yes? He Chengyu admitted it without hesitation. Tell me, you didn't intend to say it. Why did you say it now? Zhang Huiqing managed to regain his rationality. Because people are greedy. They can't help but want more. I am no longer satisfied with the identity of a close friend. I want to go further with Huiqing. This day was different from the day they soaked in the hot spring. Zhang Huiqing was facing He Chengyu. He could see the expression on He Chengyu's face the whole time. He could also feel that the other party's gaze was fixed on him. When did it start? Zhang Huiqing asked after a moment of silence. Maybe it started from the first time we met. He Chengyu smiled. When they first met, Zhang Huiqing appeared in He Chengyu's life like the warm winter sun. Since then, he could not let go of this warmth. At first, he thought it was a possessive desire for a friend. Later, He realized that he had never treated Jiang Huiqing as a friend. What about Huiqing? Chengyu approached the young man and brushed the hair on his forehead. Has Huiqing thought about how to answer me these days? How could he have thought about it? Jiang Huiqing's mind was a mess. He stood there blankly with a blank expression. I don't know either. What were his feelings for Chengyu? During this period, he kept asking himself this question, but he could not find the answer. That day, were you disgusted? Chengyu saw that he was still in a daze and added, when I kissed you. Jiang Huiqing lowered his eyes and did not dare to look at the man standing in front of him. Under the man's questioning gaze, he gently shook his head. Chengyu guessed that he would not be disgusted. Otherwise, he would not have such a reaction at that time. When he finally got the answer, he slowly breathed a sigh of relief. He reached out and lifted the young man's chin. Huiqing, I don't want to wait anymore. If you don't want to say it, let me do it. If you can't stand it, just tell me to stop, okay? A kiss with the unique scent of a man fell on Jiang Huiqing's forehead. Jiang Huiqing closed his eyes and his eyelashes trembled. Chengyu looked at him with a gentle gaze. The young man's eyelashes were very long, like butterflies fluttering their wings. They were also telling the master's uneasiness. He kissed him carefully. He was not rejected. The kiss went all the way down. He felt the body under his palm tremble slightly, but the young man did not speak. The kiss landed on the corner of the lips. This time, it did not leave immediately. Instead, it paused for a moment, as if to give the young man time to react, but also as if to make a final reluctant to leave. Their breaths mingled and their lips touched. Jiang Huiqing's waist suddenly tightened. He staggered and fell into Chengyu's arms. He was hugged by the waist and lost all his escape routes. I gave you a chance to refuse, Huiqing. Chengyu's voice was hoarse. Jiang Huiqing grabbed the clothes under his hand. Before he could finish, his breath was taken away. Their lips and teeth met. This time, it was no longer a light kiss. This kiss was full of aggression, as if to tear him apart and eat him. The strength on his waist was also increasing. The two were tightly pressed together. After some time, Jiang Huiqing felt something and struggled violently. Don't move. I won't do anything. Let me kiss you properly, Huiqing. The person in his arms was gradually comforted and immersed in the kiss. When he regained consciousness again, Jiang Huiqing found himself lying on the bed. Chengyu supported himself above and looked at him intently. Jiang Huiqing blushed and stammered. You said you wouldn't do anything. Chengyu chuckled and caressed his face. I won't touch you. I didn't prepare anything here. Besides, these things should be left for the wedding night. Jiang Huiqing looked away. His heart was beating very fast. It had never been so fast before. This made him feel a little at a loss. Moreover, Chengyu's new identity gave him a very different feeling. When that gaze landed on him, it was as if it wanted to burn him up. Don't look at me like that. It was a pity that the quilt was not at hand. Otherwise, Jiang Huiqing would have buried himself in it. Chengyu did not restrain himself at all. His hand moved down. Let me help you. Jiang Huiqing bent his legs. Chengyu did not give him a chance to refuse. I help Huiqing. Huiqing, help me. Okay. Didn't you say no? His lips were blocked again. Yes, so I'm just helping. For the first time, Jiang Huiqing felt that Chengyu had such a rogue side. At some point, the sky darkened. The sunset was covered by the curtain of night. A full moon rose high in the sky, sprinkling silver light. In the courtyard, clusters of well-grown flowers bloomed one after another. As the saying goes, flowers are good, the moon is round, and people are long. Genius 1 second. Remember this website, www.bq50. CC Literature Mobile Version Reading Website, mbq50. CC. Chapter 261. Shang Junlin woke up from his dream and felt that his arms were empty. He stretched out his hand and tried to reach for the person in front of him. He was completely awake. The scene in front of him made him pause. Although it was also an imperial palace, it was obviously different from the one he was used to. It was closer to the one Xunyu had before he entered the palace. Eunuch Ming walked in carefully when he heard the commotion. "Your Majesty? Where is you?" Shang Junlin picked up the clothes beside him and asked, "This, Your Majesty, may I know who you are asking about?" Eunuch Ming was even more careful. The palace servants beside him were also tense. Recently, the emperor's temperament had become more and more violent. They could lose their lives if they made a mistake. They had to be extra careful. Shang Junlin sized him up without batting an eyelid. There were no traces of lying. He looked around. The layout of the bedchamber did not seem to be something that could be changed overnight. In addition, the palace servants' fearful expressions did not seem to be fake. All the signs pointed to the most impossible answer. He did not know how he came to a world without a you. No, he could not make a conclusion now. It was possible that a you was not by his side. He had to figure out the situation in front of him first before he made a decision. Soon, Shang Junlin understood his situation. In this world, the one who entered the palace was not Shenyu. It was Shun Qingran, the son of a concubine from the Count of North. He was not even seen before, let alone being loved by the emperor. He was directly thrown into the palace to fend for himself. Fortunately, there was no involvement. Shang Junlin sighed and raised his hand to signal Eunuch Ming to continue. Young Master Shun was taken out of the palace. Your Majesty said not to care about him. I heard that he is now with King Yu. King Yu? Shang Junlin interrupted Eunuch Ming. Yes, in this world, King Yu was not punished. Now that he had gathered a group of people, it was obvious that he wanted to rebel. Shang Junlin thought about how Shenyu cared about King Yu in the beginning. He vaguely understood something. He summoned the hidden dragon guards. Go and investigate King Yu. Tell me everything about the people around him. Tell me everything.
Yes.
The hidden dragon guards accepted the order and left. After a few days, Shang Junlin figured out what had happened in this world. Because Shun Yu did not enter the palace, many things developed differently from his previous life. His actions became more and more brutal, causing the people to complain. The King of Yu took this opportunity to wantonly win the hearts of the people. The people behind the King of Yu had not revealed themselves yet. Shang Junlin already knew who the mastermind was. He was not afraid of these people. The most important thing now was to find Shenyu. If he guessed correctly, at this time, Shenyu should be beside King Yu. His Yu had chosen King Yu in this world. This realization set off a storm in Shang Junlin's heart. He wished he could destroy everything in front of him to vent his anger. While the hidden dragon guards were investigating the King of Yu, Shang Junlin purged the imperial court. He got rid of those who were disloyal and had a firm grasp of the imperial court's power. Shang Junlin's actions were too fast. Those who thought they were well hidden were uprooted before they could react. Shang Junlin did not even give them a chance to retaliate. After he dealt with these people swiftly, the hidden dragon guards also sent news back. After handing over the imperial court to the prime minister and Fang Jun, Shang Junlin secretly left the capital. He had obtained Shun Yu's location. He wanted to find him. At the same time, he also sent people to look for the Ji clan. He did not know if the seal on Shun Yu was still around in this life. It was better to be prepared if he could find the Ji clan. As for Imperial Physician Gu, Shang Junlin could not find him in the Imperial Physician Hospital. He only found out after he sent people to investigate. Imperial Physician Gu was implicated in a case from 4 years ago. Since then, Gu Huai had disappeared. Shang Junlin ordered people to look for Gu Huai. In his previous world, Gu Huai was already married to Imperial Physician Gu at this time. With Gu Huai's obsession with Imperial Physician Gu, Shang Junlin did not think that Imperial Physician Gu would watch his beloved die in prison. After sending people to investigate, they found some clues. The real Imperial Physician Gu should have been taken away by Gu Huai. King Yu's fief was located in the south of Yuezhou. It was not as cold as the capital during winter. It was just that there was a lot of rain. After Shenyu came here, he was not used to the cold and wet weather. He was sick for a long time before he slowly recovered. After a few years, he was able to adapt to the climate here. Young master, His Highness King Yu sent a message saying that he has something to do today and can't come. The maid carefully handed the cloak to him. She could not help but complain about the injustice for her young master. How could King Yu have something to do? It was obvious that he was fascinated by the newcomer. Shun Yu's hands paused. He took the cloak and put it on. The weather is good today. I will go out for a walk. I don't need anyone to follow me. Yes. Shun Yu tidied himself up and left the residence. In fact, he knew that the King of Yu failed to keep the appointment mostly because of Shun Qingran. Since Shun Qingran came here, she liked to target him everywhere. She wanted to take away everything he cared about, including the King of Yu. Everyone thought that he would be angry, but in fact, he didn't feel much in his heart. Shin Yu was thinking about something and did not notice that someone was riding a horse in front of him. When he heard a cry of surprise, he fell into a warm embrace. Shin Yu was hugged and turned around. He looked up at the man who was tightly pursing his lips. "Thank you for saving me, young master." Shang Junlin stared blankly at the person in his arms. He had been in this world for several months and finally found a Yu. A Yu in this world looked very sick. Her face was pale and her body was weak. It was as if she could be blown away by the wind. When the horse galloped towards them, his heart almost stopped. At that moment, his actions were faster than his thoughts, and he carried her away from danger. She didn't care if she would leave a bad impression on Ayu if she did this for the first time. Sorry. Are the two young masters okay? I don't know why the horse was frightened and almost caused a disaster. At this time, the rider stopped the frightened horse and walked over. Shang Junlin woke up from his dream and let go of the person in his arms. Are you hurt? Shin Yu shook her head. No matter what, the man on the horse had to stay and compensate. Shin Yu didn't want to be in a deadlock with him, so he accepted the compensation. After the man left, only Shin Yu and the man who saved him were left. May I know how to address you? Shin Yu was a person who would repay kindness. This person saved him, and he would not do nothing. My surname is Lin. In the end, it was the fief of the King of Yu. In order to not attract attention and to get closer to Shun Yu, Shang Junlin changed his appearance and identity. He did not know what had happened in this world, but according to the information that the hidden dragon guards had found, his Ayu was completely devoted to the King of Yu. How could Shang Junlin allow this situation to continue? No matter how difficult it was, he would think of a way to get Ayu back to his side. Young Master Lin. Shin Yu looked at the sky and saw that it was almost time for dinner. He invited Shang Junlin to have dinner together. To thank young Master Lin for saving my life, would you like to have dinner with me? Shang Junlin could not ask for more. Shin Yu chose a restaurant he frequented and asked while walking, I often come here. Is there anything you don't eat? Shang Junlin shook his head. I'm fine with anything. Shin Yu was a regular customer. The boss welcomed them personally and led them to the private room that Shin Yu frequented. Young master, do you want to eat your usual food today? Shin Yu ordered a few signature dishes and gave the choice to the man sitting opposite him. Shang Junlin ordered a few dishes. Shin Yu was surprised to find that the man ordered all the dishes that he liked. There was wine on the table. Shin Yu poured a cup for each of them. When she poured the wine, her wide sleeves slipped down and revealed a thin and white wrist. Shang Junlin looked at the wrist that was almost skinny and his heart ached. Shin Yu put the wine cup in front of the man. He thought of something and said, This is fruit wine. It's not easy to get drunk. If young Master Lin wants to drink something stronger, I'll ask them to serve you again. No need. Fruit wine is very good. It's easy to forget yourself when you're drunk. Not long after, the dishes were served. The two ate and chatted. For the first time, Shin Yu felt that there was someone in the world who could get along with him so well. During the meal, the relationship between the two of them had become much closer. After the meal, the two walked out of the restaurant side by side. Shang Junlin looked at the gradually darkening sky and said, It's getting dark. Let me send you back. Perhaps the other party's gaze was too gentle. Shun Yu did not refuse. His vigilance against strangers seemed to have no effect on this person. The two of them chatted as they walked, and the other party could pick up on any topic. It had been a long time since Shen Yu had a simple chat with someone. When he talked with someone, it was mostly with a purpose. Today was the first time. When they talked excitedly, Shen Yu's eyes became brighter and brighter. The way he addressed Shang Junlin also changed from the unfamiliar young Master Lin to the slightly intimate Brother Lin. Brother Lin, you said that you just came to Yuezhou. Do you have a place to stay? If you don't mind, you can stay here for a while. Shang Junlin did not expect that Shen Yu would directly invite him to stay. He was stunned. When he spoke, Shen Yu was looking at him. Naturally, he saw his movement. He realized that his words were inappropriate and hurriedly said, I was just kidding. It's not that I don't want to. How could Shang Junlin miss such a good opportunity? He interrupted Shen Yu. I was afraid that you would find me troublesome. Why would I dislike you? To be honest, I just came to Yuezhou, and I haven't found a suitable place to stay. I wonder if you can take me in for a few days? Shen Yu pursed his lips. Brother Lin, you don't have to make up for me. I'm not making up for you. I'm the one who wants you to make things convenient for me. Shen Yu liked peace and quiet. The place he lived in was a little remote. It was a small house, but the layout inside revealed the owner's care. The corridors, the pavilions, the terraces, and the attic were all pleasing to the eye. Shen Yu took Shang Junlin to walk around the courtyard. Shang Junlin took the lantern from the maid and walked beside Shen Yu. Sorry, I'm not used to being served. Shen Yu waved his hand and asked the maid to leave. I don't like it either. Usually, Shen Yu rarely let the maid serve him. He wouldn't let others do his personal things. The housekeeper received Shen Yu's order and tidied up the place where Shang Junlin was going to live. He led him there. Shen Yu also went back to his own courtyard to rest. The next morning, Shen Yu woke up. What's that sound outside? It's Master Lin practicing swordsmanship. The maid answered. Shen Yu changed his clothes and walked out. As expected, he saw the man practicing swordsmanship in the courtyard. Seeing him, the man put away his sword and walked over. Why are you up so early? As he spoke, he took the cloak from the maid and put it on Shen Yu. His movements were so skillful as if he had done it thousands of times. Shen Yu was stunned. I usually get up around this time. It's too early. Shang Junlin paused. You're not in good health. You should sleep more. Genius 1 second. Remember this website. www.bq50cc Literature Mobile Version Website. mbq50cc. Chapter 262. Obviously, Shang Junlin felt that it was early. He told Shen Yu that he didn't have to wake up so early if he had nothing to do. Shen Yu wasn't busy these days. He stayed in the mansion all day. Shang Junlin wanted to spend all day with him. He still remembered his character and went out to work during the day. He told Shen Yu that he was a merchant from the south. He had made some preparations before he came. However, with Shen Yu's intelligence, he might have realized that something was wrong, especially when they were together all the time. Shang Junlin didn't expect that everything would go so smoothly when he came. He thought that he would have to put in a lot of effort to make friends with Shen Yu. He didn't expect that he would be invited to stay in the mansion because of an accident. Wasn't it a little too easy? Shang Junlin thought as he talked to the hidden dragon guards who also disguised themselves and came to Yuezhou. Shen Yu sat in the courtyard basking in the sun, reading a book in his hand. The sunlight shone on his face, making his skin look even fairer and more translucent. Shang Junlin, who was walking over, stopped in his tracks, but Shen Yu had already raised his head. Brother Lin, you came back earlier than usual today. Shang Junlin strode over. What is you doing? Reading. Shen Yu waved the book in his hand. Suddenly, he smelled a fragrance. He looked over. What's that smell? It smells so good. I brought you some snacks. Shang Junlin took out the wrapped snacks and joked, You have a good nose? What snacks? The fragrance was too tempting. Shen Yu couldn't help but focus on the snacks. It's the new Fuyun cake from Jinlu. Try it. Shang Junlin said as he opened the paper bag. Without the barrier, the fragrance was even stronger. The sweetness of the food mixed with the unique fragrance of flowers was so tempting that it made one salivate. Xinyu never mistreated himself when it came to food. Hearing this, he reached out to take it. Shang Junlin did not give it to him. Instead, he fed it directly to his mouth. I washed my hands before I came in. You still have to read later. This is more convenient. Xinyu paused for a moment and took a bite of the dessert in the man's hand. The outermost layer of the fuyun cake was coated with a layer of white powdered sugar. The inside of the cake was soft and glutinous. With a bite, the sweet taste spread in the mouth. Xin Yu's eyes lit up. Seeing Shan Yu's attitude from the young man's expression, Shang Junlin felt relieved. He bought the lotus cloud cake according to Shan Yu's preference. Seeing that he liked it, Shang Junlin smiled and said, "There are many delicious snacks in this shop. If you like them, I'll bring more for you next time." After getting along with each other for a few days, Shang Junlin found that Shan Yu did not like to go out. Perhaps it was related to his illness. Shang Junlin planned to let Imperial Dr. Wu check Shan Yu when the two of them got closer. After Shan Yu finished eating a piece of lotus cloud cake, Shang Junlin took out another piece. The two of them fed each other and ate each other. Not long after, the pastries in the paper bag could be seen. Shan Yu did not expect that he had unknowingly eaten so much. He was a little embarrassed and pushed away Shang Junlin's hand. "Brother Lin, don't you want to eat?" The man turned his hand and continued to feed the lotus cloud cake to Shan Yu's mouth. "I brought it back for you after I tasted it. You likes it. Eat more." After eating, Shang Junlin took out a handkerchief and carefully wiped the crumbs from Shan Yu's mouth. His actions were too natural. Shan Yu froze on the spot. Before he could say anything to refuse, the man had already taken back his hand. Shan Yu unconsciously clenched his fingers that were holding the book. He looked at the man. The man acted as usual, as if he had just done something ordinary. But Shan Yu remembered very clearly that they had just met, but they were so familiar with each other that it was as if they had been together for many years. Whether it was the man's familiarity with him or his lack of resistance to the man's approach, it was not in line with his understanding. Since that day, the man had a new hobby. He brought back all kinds of delicious food to feed Shan Yu. If Shan Yu did not want to go out, it was okay. He could bring back all kinds of delicious and fun things. There were many new things in Shan Yu's bedroom. Small ornaments, books for relaxation, chess. All of them were brought back by Shang Junlin. It was spring, and the weather was getting warmer. Shang Junlin chose a location for his first shop in Yuezhou and invited Shan Yu to take a look. "You can't stay in his courtyard all day long. I have booked a shop there. I wonder if you can help me take a look." Shan Yu thought for a while. He had not gone out for a long time. Moreover, the man's gaze on him was too hard to refuse. So he agreed. Shang Junlin took a cloak and draped it over Shan Yu. Shan Yu tilted his head slightly so that the man could tie the cloak for him. The two of them got on the carriage and went to the downtown area. The shop that Shang Junlin chose was located in the downtown area. It was a small two-story building that had already opened. It looked like there were many people coming in and out. Shan Yu felt that the business should be very good. The carriage stopped at one side. Shang Junlin got off first and then reached out his hand. Shan Yu looked at the hand that was reaching towards him. He was stunned for a moment, but then he put his hand on it. He was helped out of the carriage. Shan Yu and Shang Junlin walked into the shop side by side. They found that most of the customers were women. They could not help but feel a little curious. "Brother Lin, what kind of business is this?" Shan Yu did not have the hobby of inquiring about other people's business. Shang Junlin did not take the initiative to talk about business, so he did not ask. Their conversation had always been about eating, drinking, and playing. Neither of them rashly crossed the line. "These are some things for women." Shang Junlin took Shan Yu inside. He introduced them as they walked. "This is lipstick. It comes in various colors. This is an eyebrow pencil." Shan Yu looked at those items. They were placed on the shelves. They looked beautiful and had a variety of patterns. They were very suitable for women's preferences. I didn't expect Brother Lin to know so much about these things. Xin Yu's tone was full of surprise. Not only those that the man introduced, Xin Yu also saw a lot of other beautiful accessories. Just looking at them made people unable to put them down. In front of them, there were many madams and young ladies. Without stopping, the two of them went to the second floor. There was no one on the second floor. It seemed that the owner specially used it to receive guests. The waiter served hot tea and quietly left. Shang Junlin went out for a while. When he came back, he held a brocade box in his hand. He handed the brocade box to Xin Yu. This is a small gift for you. When the brocade box was opened, there was a jade pendant inside. It was completely white and warm to the touch. Xin Yu subconsciously wanted to refuse. Don't be in a hurry to refuse. Shang Junlin seemed to have predicted what he was going to say. He interrupted him. I've stayed in a Yu's house for so long. This jade pendant is a thank you gift. Shang Junlin took out the jade pendant. He did not allow Xin Yu to refuse and fastened it on his waist. Xin Yu looked down. He wanted to hold the jade pendant, but Shang Junlin's hand was still there. Their fingers touched. Xin Yu retracted his hand like lightning. Under the cover of his wide sleeves, his fingers curled up. Shang Junlin straightened his body and looked at him. You, don't talk. Xin Yu raised his hand and put his index finger on Shang Junlin's lips. When their eyes met, Shang Junlin's eyes were filled with emotions that he could not understand. At this moment, Xin Yu did not know what he was thinking. Or perhaps, he was not thinking at all. The two of them looked at each other and stood quietly for a while. Xin Yu was the first to look away. Shang Junlin coughed and stepped back a little. Xin Yu realized that the two of them were very close to each other. He never liked people to get close to him, but this time, he did not feel it at all. The distance between the two of them had crossed the line. Shang Junlin picked up another box on the table and said, There's an auction today. Do you want to go and take a look? Xin Yu asked, Auction? Shang Junlin explained, It's held by a famous chamber of commerce in Dahuan. This time, the location is in Yuezhou. I have a few invitation letters with me. Xin Yu remembered that 2 days ago, someone had sent an invitation letter to his residence. He was not interested, so he asked the servant to put it aside. He worked for King Yu. His presence was not high, but it was not low either. Everyone who had some connections knew that he had a lot of power. His attitude towards him had always been to rope him in. However, very few people had seen him in person. Many people only knew that there was someone like him by King Yu's side. As long as he was in charge of anything, he would be able to solve it perfectly. As for what this person looked like, no one knew. In the beginning, Xin Yu had suspected that the man had an ulterior motive for approaching him. He had asked Ding Hua to investigate the man's identity, but nothing had been found. When they interacted, he did not feel any ambition from the man. The two of them arrived at the auction house. After their identities were verified, they were brought to a private room upstairs. If there's anything you want, you can buy it directly. Brother Lin is so rich? Xin Yu raised his eyebrows. My family's business is not big, but it's enough to buy things for you, Shang Junlin said. I can buy it myself. Since the two of them met, just like how Xin Yu never asked about Shang Junlin's personal matters, Shang Junlin never asked about his. Xin Yu thought that he was just an ordinary businessman who did not know his identity. That was why he said that he wanted to buy things for him. Xin Yu did not want their relationship to involve power and interests, so he did not reveal his identity. He looked at the man and thought, Brother Lin has always been keen on buying things for him. Did he think that he was someone who did not have enough money? I know, Shang Junlin smiled. I just feel that I hit it off with you, so I want to do something for you. You does not need to think too much. Really? Xin Yu was doubtful. Otherwise, what does you think I am doing this for? Xin Yu did not know why this person was so nice to him for no reason, so he naturally could not answer. While they were talking, the auction had already started. The two of them were in a very good private room. Xin Yu was not interested in the first few items until the auctioneer brought out a plant with thin branches and leaves. Xin Yu's interest was piqued. Shang Junlin recognized the plant as Junling and began to bid for it. Later, only the people in the other private room bid for it. Shang Junlin was too lazy to waste his breath and directly said that no matter how much the other party bid, he would double it. The Junling successfully fell into his hands. The auctioneer brought the Junling into the private room and said that he wanted to see them. There is nothing to see. Shang Junlin took the flower and said to Shen Yu, "When we go back, let's raise it in a use room, okay?" Shen Yu calculated the money that the other party had spent and planned to give him a little more when they went back. Because the person in the other private room had increased the price, the man had spent far more than what he should have. After the auction ended, the two of them were about to leave when they were stopped by someone. "Young masters, please wait. My master wants to invite you to have a chat. Please." The person made an inviting gesture, obviously not wanting them to leave. "Who is your master?" Shen Yu asked. "You will know when you go." The person's attitude was arrogant. Shen Yu could roughly guess that the person's identity was probably not ordinary, but he was not someone that anyone could bully in Yuezhou. Since this person did not want him to leave, he might as well not leave. He stood there with his arms crossed. If he wants to see someone, shouldn't he come in person? Why is he asking us to go? He also refuses to tell us his identity. How precious must he be to make everyone listen to him? Well, the person hesitated. Shen Yu pulled Shang Junlin out. "What is this? He wants to see us, not the other way around. If he doesn't come, then don't blame us for not wanting to see him." "Hey, please wait. My master is from the lawn room. He wants to invite you over too," I said. "If he wants to see us, then let him come. We don't have time to waste with him." Shen Yu did not like this person who made Brother Lin spend so much money, so he directly interrupted him. At this time, the door of a private room not far away opened. Two men in luxurious clothes walked out. One of them was just about to speak when he saw Shen Yu. Their eyes met. Shen Yu twitched the corner of his mouth. Unfortunately, the people who walked out were none other than King Yu and Shen Qingran. King Yu obviously did not expect to meet him here. He frowned. "Why are you here?" Genius 1 second. Remember this website. www.bq50cc Literature Mobile Version Website. mbq50cc. Chapter 263. Emperor Yu knew how sharp Shen Yu's mouth was, so he didn't want to argue with him here. He restrained his temper and said kindly, "I didn't know the person in the private room was you. Otherwise what?" Emperor Yu stopped talking. Shen Qingran became more and more unhappy. He finally escaped from the imperial palace and found someone who appreciated him. However, before he could be happy, he found that Shen Yu, who he always disliked, was also here. He even became Emperor Yu's right-hand man and could participate in any of Emperor Yu's affairs. Shen Qingran was much more important than him. Shen Qingran was extremely dissatisfied. Unfortunately, the Prince of Yu sided with the other party. Even if the two of them met, he could only endure. This time, he finally won around with great difficulty and made the Prince of Yu break his promise with Shen Yu to accompany him. Who would have thought that he would meet the other party at the auction house? But no matter how unhappy he was, he didn't dare to show it. At the beginning, he tried to make trouble for Shen Yu. Not only did he fail, but he was also severely taught a lesson. Even Emperor Yu, who had always been gentle to him, didn't stand on his side. From then on, he didn't dare to make trouble for Shen Yu easily. Shen Yu didn't want to waste more time with them, so he walked out with the man behind him. The servant next to him hesitated and wanted to stop him, but he was pulled by the hem of his clothes. Emperor Yu watched Shen Yu leave with the man. His eyes fell on Shen Yu's hand holding the strange man's hand. His eyes became gloomy and unclear. When the two figures disappeared, he said coldly, "Go and find out the identity of the man who appeared beside him." After that, he turned to the servant who was sent to find the man. "Take him away. Don't let him appear in front of me in the future." Yes. Emperor Yu left without looking at Shan Qingran. Shan Qingran was left behind. He gritted his teeth and followed. After walking out for a long time, Shan Yu suddenly realized that he was still holding the man's wrist, and the man was pulled by him all the way. He let go of his hand. He didn't notice that the man looked at his hand with regret. You knows that person? Even though he knew that Shan Yu was working for the King of Yu, Shang Junlin was still dissatisfied with the King of Yu. Of course, he also saw Shan Qingran standing beside King Yu. Shang Junlin only disliked this person. He would never forget how Yu had suffered because of this person. He had disguised himself and appeared in Yuezhou. Other than finding Shan Yu, he also planned to get rid of King Yu and the others in one go. His men had already infiltrated Yuezhou. Before long, the results would be out. Before that, he had to get Shan Yu out of the picture. I know him. You don't have to worry about him. He's not important, Shan Yu said. It's very strange, Shan Yu thought to himself. In the past, he had always thought that he liked King Yu, so much so that he was willing to leave his hometown for him and plan everything for him. But all of a sudden, this thought in his heart faded away. He couldn't even understand why he seemed to have been possessed. Shan Yu and Shang Junlin didn't have the mood to continue strolling around. They proposed to go back to the residence first. Shang Junlin didn't ask much. He was a very calm person. After accompanying Shan Yu back to the residence, he went out. The next morning, Shan Yu found that he was sick. He didn't know if it was because of the cold wind or not. This was already a common occurrence for him. After instructing someone to call for a doctor, he fell into a deep sleep. Shang Junlin came to look for Shan Yu. Before he got close, he heard the conversation of several maids in the corridor. Young master is sick again. It's only been a few days. Why is he sick again? Young master's body has always been like this. That person stood him up and even brought someone to show off. It was as if he was afraid that others wouldn't know. Our young master just doesn't like to go out. It's not like he doesn't know anything about the outside world. I heard that that person even brought someone to the auction house yesterday. Young master went out yesterday too. Could it be that he met that person? Young master's mood wasn't right when he came back yesterday. It's very likely that he met that person halfway. Young master did so much for that person and received such treatment. What do you think that person's new maid will do? She was favored and brought around all day long. And because of her, she even stood up for our young master. Shang Junlin stood in the same place. He roughly pieced together the truth from these maids. Shan Yu was angered by the King of Yu yesterday and fell sick. It seemed that he had to speed up. Other things aside, Shan Yu's body couldn't afford to be delayed. Shang Junlin contacted the people who came to Yuezhou with him and ordered them to act as soon as possible. He went to Shan Yu's room alone. The servants in the residence knew that Shan Yu had a good relationship with him, so they didn't stop him. After Shang Junlin entered the room, he saw the young man lying on the bed with his eyes closed. His face was pale and his heart ached. "Have you called for a doctor?" he asked. The maid beside him quickly replied, "I've sent someone to invite him. I know an old doctor with great medical skills. Take my token and go to this place to find him." Shang Junlin took out a jade tablet and gave it to the maid. He also told her a location. The maid took the jade tablet and didn't move at first. Shang Junlin frowned and suppressed the anger in his heart. "Your young master is sick. What are you waiting for?" For some reason, the maid felt that young Master Lin was more dignified than the King of Yu at this moment. She subconsciously followed his orders. The maid held the jade tablet and thought, young master's illness has been going on for so long. Maybe the doctor recommended by young Master Lin can cure young master. After the maid left, Shang Junlin walked to the bedside and sat down. He tucked the young man in. "Isn't it just the King of Yu? Is it worth it for you to fall sick from anger?" Shang Junlin touched the young man's forehead. His hand was burning hot. Shang Junlin covered the young man's forehead with a wet handkerchief and continued, "I don't know how you will react when you know my true identity." In the beginning, he used this identity to get close to Shan Yu for convenience. After getting close to him, Shang Junlin became more cautious. He thought that he couldn't hide it forever. Otherwise, Yu would definitely be angry. But how could he tell her? Shang Junlin was in a difficult position. During this period of time, Shang Junlin found that Xinyu trusted him a lot. This trust was beyond Shun Yu's limit for ordinary people. Otherwise, it was impossible for Shun Yu to not notice his little tricks. After understanding the power of Yuezhou, Shang Junlin found out what kind of power Xinyu Yu had in this place. The Yinghua in Xun Yu's hand was like a big invisible net that covered this place. Xun Yu was the center of this big net. As long as he wanted, he could know everything that happened in every place. He also knew that Xun Yu had investigated his identity in the beginning, but he didn't do anything at that time, so Xun Yu couldn't find anything. If he investigated again now, he would definitely find something wrong. But after the first time, Xun Yu didn't investigate his background anymore. It was really unusual for Xun Yu to trust a stranger who had only known him for a few days. Xun Yu was in a daze because of the fever. He opened his eyes unconsciously. His vision was also blurry. He opened his mouth, but his voice was so weak that it was almost inaudible. "Who is it?" Xun Yu's hand reached out from the quilt. Shang Junlin held Xun Yu's hand and stuffed it back into the quilt. When he was about to withdraw, he found that Xun Yu held his hand back. Shang Junlin calmly held Xun Yu's hot hand and said gently, "It's me. The doctor will be here soon. Do you feel any discomfort?" "I'm cold," Xun Yu said in a daze. Shang Junlin looked at the several layers of quilts on the bed. He felt the heat in his hand and knew that it was a symptom caused by the fever. He pulled the quilt on the bed and wrapped Xun Yu more tightly. After thinking for a while, he turned over and got on the bed. He hugged Xun Yu and the quilt into his arms. "Do you feel better now?" The man's tone was too gentle. Under his soft coaxing, Xun Yu gradually fell asleep. Not long after, the doctor arrived. He was the doctor who often treated Xun Yu. When he saw the strange man in the room, he was stunned for a moment. However, he didn't ask too much. As a doctor, he didn't need to get involved in the master's affairs. He took Xun Yu's pulse and retreated to the side to write a prescription. "Has his body always been like this?" Shang Junlin walked to the doctor and asked. "Yes. After young Master Shun came to Yuezhou, I've been treating him. Unfortunately, I'm not good enough and can't find a cure. I can only relieve it temporarily. If this continues, young Master Shun's body won't be able to bear it sooner or later." The doctor already knew from the maid that the man was Xun Yu's good friend, so he said more. At this time, Dr. Wu followed the maid into the room. When he saw Shang Junlin, he bowed subconsciously but was stopped by the other party's gaze. "This is a doctor I know. I was worried about Yu, so I invited him here without permission." Shang Junlin explained to the doctor. He knew that some doctors didn't like this and didn't want to ruin Xun Yu's image in the doctor's heart. The doctor waved his hand quickly. "No need. It's good to have someone to take a look at young Master Shun. If young Master Shun is always like this, I don't feel good." Dr. Wu stepped forward and took Xun Yu's pulse. Before coming to Yuezhou, the emperor had already told him about the patient's condition. After taking his pulse, he found that the patient's condition was even worse. After knowing that the old doctor had been treating Xun Yu, Imperial Dr. Wu discussed the treatment with the other party. "I'll have to trouble the two doctors to stay here for the time being. After Yu is cured, I'll reward you greatly." Shang Junlin asked the two doctors to stay. When the medicine was served, Shang Junlin was about to ask how to feed Xun Yu when the maid came forward and woke him up in a low voice. Xun Yu really woke up. He took the bowl of medicine and drank it all. He didn't complain and his face didn't change at all. After drinking the medicine, Xun Yu was about to lie down when he saw the tall man walk over with something in his hand. Shang Junlin sat by the bed and opened his palm. There were a few candied fruits in his hand. He fed the candied fruits to Xun Yu. "Brother Lin?" Xun Yu looked confused. Shang Junlin seemed helpless and asked gently, "Isn't the medicine bitter? Eat some candied fruits to ease the pain." Xun Yu opened his mouth slightly, and the candied fruits were sent into his mouth. The sweetness dissolved the bitterness in his mouth. Looking at the man's obviously distressed expression, Xun Yu blinked and an indescribable feeling rose in his heart. It was sour and astringent, but there was also a sweetness that couldn't be ignored. Maybe it was because the man's gaze was too gentle. Maybe it was the illness that made people weak. At this moment, Xinyu felt that it would be great if Brother Lin could always be by his side. Since he was young, he had always been the one to face everything alone. He was the decision-maker and seemed so powerful that he could do anything. His opponents, his subordinates, the people he was loyal to, they all felt the same way. "What are you thinking about?" Shang Junlin asked when he saw him in a daze. "I'm thinking, it would be great if Brother Lin could always stay." Genius 1 second. Remember this website, www.bq50cc literature mobile version reading website, mbq50cc. Chapter 264. Shang Junlin didn't know that Shun Yu was thinking about how to make him stay. A maidservant came in with hot water. Shang Junlin took the hot water and soaked a handkerchief to wipe Shun Yu's face. Shin Yu slightly raised his head and let Shang Junlin do whatever he wanted. "Brother Lin, you are very good at taking care of people. Have you taken care of anyone before?" Shin Yu asked. "I have only taken care of a you," Shang Junlin thought. "In this world, besides you, who else deserves my personal care?" Shin Yu's mouth curved up. No matter whether this was true or not, Brother Lin's words made him feel happy. After drinking the medicine, Shun Yu was no longer unconscious. He learned from the maidservant that Brother Lin found a doctor for him. He said, "My body has always been like this. Brother Lin, you don't have to take it to heart. You took me in and treated me sincerely. I have to repay him." Shang Junlin held Shan Yu's hand that was on the quilt and said seriously. The man's hand was very warm. Shin Yu, who was disturbed by the cold, was reluctant to part with this warmth. He didn't withdraw his hand. Instead, he leaned back on the bed in this position. "Brother Lin, thank you for your trouble." Shin Yu didn't refuse the man's kindness. In his heart, it was already a kind of recognition. After Imperial Physician Wu finished discussing with the old doctor, he came to check Shan Yu's pulse again. He knew that this doctor was found by Brother Lin. Shin Yu's attitude towards him was very good. In order to facilitate the treatment, Imperial Physician Wu temporarily stayed. Shang Junlin remembered Shan Yu's recuperation prescription. After coaxing Shen Yu to sleep, he met Imperial Physician Wu alone and memorized the prescription. Imperial Physician Wu made slight adjustments according to Shun Yu's body. He wrote down a new prescription and handed it to Shang Junlin. "Don't say anything that shouldn't be said. You just need to take good care of him." Shang Junlin took the prescription and said lightly, "Don't worry, young master." When Imperial Dr. Wu saw it, he understood why His Majesty did this. Seeing that His Majesty was not interested in men and women, people in the court thought that His Majesty was going to die alone. They didn't expect that it was not that he was not interested, but that there was no one who was interested. Didn't they appear now? Even though he didn't know why His Majesty didn't directly bring him back to the palace and even disguised himself to freeload at the other party's house, this wasn't something that a mere imperial physician like him should be concerned about. After waking up, Xinyu felt a lot more comfortable. Just as he was about to call someone, he saw a tall man walking over with his clothes. "Lunch is ready. You? Do you want to eat something?" After sleeping for so long, Xinyu didn't want to continue lying down. He nodded and was about to sit up. In the afternoon, Xinyu and Shang Junlin were playing chess in the courtyard. "Brother Lin, how long do you plan to stay in Yuezhou?" After a game, Xinyu spoke first. He knew that the man came to Yuezhou for business and might leave soon. In his heart, he wanted him to stay a little longer. Maybe he didn't realize it himself. During this period of time, the distance between him and Shang Junlin had shortened infinitely. With his acquiescence, Shang Junlin had invaded every aspect of his life and left traces in every place. There was also King Yu. After that day, he didn't know what King Yu would do. He had to make some preparations. He couldn't let Brother Lin be disturbed by King Yu. It shouldn't be too long. Shang Junlin tilted his head to observe Xun Yu's expression. "After I leave, will you miss me?" This question was actually a bit out of line. When Shang Junlin asked it, Shin Yu didn't feel that there was anything wrong with it. He thought about it seriously and said, maybe. Sure enough, he would leave. Shin Yu didn't have time to feel depressed. He heard the man ask, if I say that I want to invite you to leave with me, will you leave with me? Why do you want to take me away? Shun Yu held a black chess piece. His fingers unconsciously clenched. Dahuan is so big. Yuezhou is just one of the many places. There are so many other places. Doesn't you want to see them? Did Shin Yu want to? In fact, he didn't feel much about it. But if he had Brother Lin by his side, this matter would become attractive. If there's a chance, I can go and see them. Shun Yu's lips curled up slightly. Brother Lin was right. Dahuan was so big. There were so many places he could go. Why should he stay in Yuezhou? Shin Yu's side was peaceful, but King Yu's side wasn't so relaxed. After returning from the auction house, King Yu ordered people to investigate the background of the person beside Shin Yu. He didn't know why, but he was very concerned about that person's appearance. Yuezhou was his territory. It was easy for him to investigate a person. Not long after, his subordinates found out. That person was a merchant from another place. There was nothing special about him. If he had to say something, it might be that the goods he sold were relatively new. The only thing that King Yu cared about was that this person was currently living in Shan Yu's manor and had a close relationship with him. How can anyone casually covet my people? King Yu frowned unhappily. He originally wanted to do something to expel this person from his fief. But before he could do anything, his subordinates were in trouble. He had to deal with more important matters. But he didn't know what went wrong. Things that could be easily solved in the past couldn't be solved this time. It also caused a bigger problem. The other forces that had formed an alliance with him were also targeted. He also lost contact with the spies in the capital. A series of changes overwhelmed King Yu. After getting busy, Shen Qingran was naturally thrown to the back of his mind. Shen Qingran wanted to see him but was stopped outside the door. King Yu was so busy that he was in a terrible fix. How could he have the mood to deal with him? Tell me, what is going on? In the study, King Yu looked at his subordinates. Your Highness, you can't even solve such a small matter. Why do I keep you? King Yu was so angry that he couldn't listen to anyone else. His subordinates lowered their heads. They didn't dare to say anything that would offend King Yu. They also didn't know how things developed like this. Everything was done in secret. No one should have found out. If this matter couldn't be solved in time and was discovered by the imperial court, it would lead to a disaster. Where is Shen Yu? Why isn't he here? After looking around, King Yu finally found that one person was missing. Young Master Shin is on sick leave. That's why he didn't come. One of his subordinates explained. Go and invite him here. King Yu turned around and walked a few steps before stopping. No, I will go and invite him personally. The subordinates let out a sigh of relief. They knew Chen Yu's abilities very well. Ever since he came to Yuezhou, he had helped King Yu solve many troublesome problems. This time, with him here, he would be able to solve this problem perfectly. Shen Yu's illness dragged on for a few days. He didn't have a good foundation. Dr. Wu only gave him milder medicine. The medicine for recuperation would be used after he recovered. Under Shang Junlin's careful care, Shen Yu didn't have a bad time. In order to take care of him, Shang Junlin stayed in the room next to him. Every day before he went to sleep, he was the last person Shen Yu saw. When he woke up, he was also the first person he saw. At first, Shen Yu felt that he wouldn't be used to another person leaving too many traces in his life. Later, he found that he didn't resist Min's approach at all. When he woke up one day, Shen Yu saw Shang Junlin sitting by the bed and reading a book as usual. Sensing movement, Shang Junlin turned around and looked at him. You're awake. Do you want to sleep a little longer? What time is it? Shen Yu sat up as he spoke. Another thing that made Shen Yu dumbfounded was that Shang Junlin always asked him to sleep a little longer in the morning. After a few days, Shen Yu woke up half an hour later than usual. It's still early. Shang Junlin tucked him in. You haven't recovered from the cold. Be careful not to catch a cold. Shen Yu was about to say something when the bedroom door was pushed open from the outside. He subconsciously looked outside. King Yu came early. He didn't expect that he would see such a scene. The young man who had been following him was pulling and pulling on the bed with a strange man in disheveled clothes. King Yu was so angry that he even forgot the purpose of his visit. He said coldly, "Shun Yu, you don't leave the Fu all day just to hang out with this kind of person?" Genius 1 second. Remember this website, www.bq50cc literature mobile version website, mbq50cc. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.